blue pill. Take the red pill. Take the 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 blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. 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 Take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. 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 Goes.
Now, from sunny South Florida, it's the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Riscala. Every Saturday night from 9 p.m. to midnight. And now, your host, Riscala.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill.
Hello and welcome, everyone. It is the Red Pill Reality Show. Give me just a minute here because I'm getting that feedback again. See if that makes it any better. Oh, much better. I think I figured out what's going on, and I just tested it. You know, I always do a dry run before I come on live, and I just tested it, and there it was, feeding back again. I think I figured out. Finally, I think I figured out what's doing it. Well, welcome to the Red Pill Reality Show. I am your host, Riscala. Tonight, I'm going to have a candidate for our Congress, District 21. His name is Mike Vilardi. Some of you might be wondering why I'm having someone like that on after we've been discussing for 34 shows now an alternative way. I truly believe that we need to get people on our side, and it would be in our best benefit if we found people that were on our side that were already in the de facto government that would help us transition and that would have the experience that we need in order to make that transition. And I believe this man might be a good candidate for that. I don't want to speak for him. I haven't had that discussion with him. We will have that discussion sometime in the future. But him and I see parallel on many things. And that's why I say he may be a great candidate for this. In the meantime, we have to deal with the reality that we have. And the reality that we have is we have a rogue government that has completely gone overboard. I mean, totally overboard. I don't know if you've heard about what's happening in New York, but it's pretty disturbing. The idea that there's going to be checkpoints here and there, and if you enter from out of the state, then you're subject to a quarantine and possible fines, and just far beyond what the government's supposed to be doing. Far beyond the authority that the government has. Yet it continues, and for the life of me, I am at a loss to understand how people will allow this to continue. It really is sad. They're using this, whatever you want to call it, pandemic, plandemic, whatever the hell you want to call it. It is not what we were told it is. Period. End of sentence. We were lied to yet again, and I don't understand how people can't see that. They've lied to us about everything else. What makes you think they're telling us the truth about this? But it's a convenient default excuse to bring about whatever they want to control in your life. And as a veteran, I don't understand how people say we support the troops. So how can you support the troops if the troops are fighting for your freedom? How can you support the troops when you easily give them up in a blink of an eye's time? The excuse of you're afraid doesn't cut it. Don't you think the people who are sacrificing their lives, don't you think they're afraid? But you step back and you go, oh, well, the government told me to do so. The government told me this. The government told me that. I can't go to work. You over there, your business is closed. You over here, yeah, you're a big boy. You donate to our, yeah, you can stay open. But don't worry, people. This is only going to be for a couple of weeks. It's only a couple of weeks. Oh, we can't. We have to continue. Don't you see how the numbers are expanding? Does it make any difference that labs here in Florida, we have over 30 labs here in Florida, over 30 labs that are here in Florida that are under investigation for submitting falsified records of the numbers of people who are coming up with positive ID on this virus, whatever it is. In some cases, they were reporting an excess of 10 times the number. So, gee, let's just use a little logic. The people who are telling us how to live our lives, they've gotten a little taste of power, far beyond their authority, but yet they've gotten a little taste of that power, and it's kind of addicting. Almost like a drug. And now they want to push more and more. So would it not be in their best interest if the numbers were to continue increasing? There's many more reasons. These people are being paid for these tests. It's in their best interest to make the numbers higher. There's every incentive to be dishonest and nothing for honesty. It was one of the things when I was in the service that used to drive me crazy. If you are in a particular department of the service and they give you, I'll just round numbers, they give you $100 to spend in the month. And you're frugal and you do good and you only end up spending $80 for that month. Well, guess what happens the next year at that month? You only get $80. There's no incentive to save money. Now, if you put it on the other side of the coin, you've got $100 and you go over budget. You 110. Guess what happens the next year at that month? You get a raised budget. This is how I don't know how it works now. This is how it used to work. I'm sure it's pretty much the same. And we're left holding the bag. You can go to work, you can't go to work. You can go to church, you can't go to church. In California, the mayor, I believe it is, has put out a proclamation. I love these people, man. They just, God help me, please, Lord. I'm going to make a proclamation for these. Now, they're attacking people at home now. It's not enough to businesses. Prior to this, they had threatened businesses who were open and not under the guidelines. They were non-essential or whatever. We're shutting off your power. We're shutting off your water. Does that sound like America to you? So now they're warning people at home. If you have more than 10 people in your house, then what we're going to do is we're going to shut your power off. We're going to shut your water off. The essentials that we need for today, they're going to shut it off. It's not about the masks. What do you think it's about? What do you think is going on? Because I'm telling you, I am absolutely 100% positive. Sure as the sun is shining, it's not about the masks. In 4 months, the United States transformed into an obedient socialist country. Government dictated what events were acceptable and what events were not to attend. Violent protests that instill fear are okay, but church services, family funerals, and patriotic celebrations are dangerous. Dangerous for the peasants as the celebrities and the politicians attend a funeral while telling you, no, you can't see your mom in the nursing home. Sadly, America bought it. Bought it without a fight. Standing in graduation line is a safety hazard. Small businesses were forced to close, but crowds to support the corporate money machine at Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot. All of that is okay. Come on, it's just a mask. Besides, there are safety precautions to consider. How about a little hush money? Here's $2,400 that we stole out of your paycheck in the first place. Enjoy it. Buy something with it. Preferably, you'll buy something from a big corporation that will give us big donations at election time. Cash is dirty. We don't give change. There's a coin shortage. Use your card. In 4 months, they have convinced you to use a traceable card for everything. In less than 4 months, government closed public schools, then restructured education under the guise of public safety. In less than 4 months, our government demonstrated how easily people assimilate to guidelines. Guidelines that have no scientific premise whatsoever when you are fearful. In less than 4 months, our government successfully instilled fear in the majority of the population in America that allows them to control every aspect of your life, including what you eat, where you go, who you see, right down to your toilet paper. And the most dangerous and the most terrifying part of all of this, people are not afraid of the government who has removed their freedom. They're afraid of their neighbors. They're afraid of their family. They're afraid of their friends. And then they hate those who won't comply. It is absolutely terrifying to me. So many people don't question authority. They're willing to surrender their critical thinking skills and independence. They just give up without thinking, without a fight. Do you know what's coming next? It's just a vaccine. Come on. It's for the greater good. Yeah, well, you just wait. Wait until you're told that you're not able to enter a store. You're not able to enter a business. You're not able to go anywhere without proof of a COVID certificate of vaccination ID. If you don't have a COVID, if you don't have a way of proving that you have been vaccinated, you won't even be able to get on a plane. You think I'm exaggerating? It's already started with the masks. How many places do you go where they demand that you wear a mask? To everyone that doesn't believe this is possible, I hope you can understand that the government has successfully dictated to people when they are allowed to be outside, where they are allowed to go, and how their children will be educated. All of this in less than 4 months. And the majority of the population follows blindly. Why? Because we were told to do so. Let me tell you something. You're kidding yourself if you think this behavior won't be repeated with the next whatever it is. More than likely will come up to be the vaccine. I know, I've heard it. I don't follow politics. Who cares about that stuff? I don't like to think about it. Let me remind you that 6 million Jews were exterminated in Germany because 97% of the population cowered to populist control. Yeah, I guess they didn't want to think about it either. It's just easier to ignore it. Oh, but that can't happen here, right? Look around you. Look around you. Take a good look around you. They got you without a thought, without a fight. Just like in France, just like in Russia, just like in China. You are being played. It's time to stop the game. I wonder how many people feel that way. I wonder how many people feel the same way as I do. It's time to stop the game. These people don't have the authority to do what they're doing. They're literally, for some people, this is a threat to their life. This idea of not being able to go back to school for the children without wearing masks and being 6 feet apart and a continuous desensitization. Everybody's talking about save the kids, save the kids. And I'm right there with you. Meanwhile, we're going to damage the ones that are already here with us. They're going to get hurt. You may not see the scar. You may not see the bruise. They're going to get hurt. Because we have people who don't know a rat's behind about how children learn, yet they're making decisions. What do you think it's going to be like for the parents, particularly in families that both parents have to work just to survive, and they've got 1 or 2 children? What do you think it's going to be like for them when they decide that they're not going to open the schools like they have here? Expect the children to learn over a monitor. No facial interactions. Everything's pre-recorded. The bottom line is, children learn by observing, and the observations that the children make are simple things. A person's hair, their eye color, the shirt that they have on, their facial expressions. All of that is being removed. There's a price that's going to be paid, and it's going to be a very deep and painful price. Because these children are the ones who have to pay it. And some of those children are my grandchildren. And I am livid. I'm livid because I know better. I don't pretend to be a doctor. I don't pretend to be a healthcare practitioner. I don't pretend to know or say that I've ever had 1 second's worth of healthcare, professional healthcare education in any way, shape, or form. But I will tell you that I'm a logical person. I can look at something and make a rational decision. And when I hear from doctors numerous doctors that students are highly unlikely to be passing this on. Oh, of course I hear today. I read an article today. Oh, how wonderful. Just in time after these doctors said what they said, that students around the world, there hasn't been one official case that a student has passed on to a teacher around the world. Oh, but today I saw an article, I think it was in the HuffPost or one of those. I have a difficult time, really having a difficult time on the air with expressing my feelings without really using some colorful language, because that's how frustrated I am. I'm disgusted with what is going on, and I'm disgusted with some of my friends. They've been blinded so bad, it's almost like somebody took concrete and plastered up their eyes, for God's sake. Filled it in with their ears. I don't know. So say Facebook, oh, wonderful Facebook, they decided that they were going to block the hashtag Save the Children. Now mind you, the hashtag, the hashtag is a movement that wants to end child trafficking. Hashtag Save the Children goes against community standards. There was a long time ago. Maybe I should go back and start doing it again. Oh, because I can't seem to get any answers. There was a long time ago when I would spend an hour and a half every day in silence, as silent as I could be, in trying to find answers. Many years ago, almost 2 decades, I started getting answers. I saw what happened on 9/11. I never believed in conspiracy. I didn't have time for this. I was fat, dumb, and happy. You know, I'm not, maybe not literally, but hey, you know, the government's the government. Hey, leave me alone. Don't talk politics. That's a bunch of crap. Doesn't help anybody. Blah, 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 blah. I just want to live my life. I want to make my living. I want to have my 2 cars and my boat and the 2 houses and all the other crap that I had at the time. 9/11 happened, and I watched it as I spoke to my brother on the phone, and I said something to the effect, it looks funny. I don't remember the exact words, but I said it looks funny, it looks weird, it looks... And everybody's in shock with what's going on. My God, there's people dying before us, and you know. And he said to me, what are you talking about? I said, I don't know, it just looks like a banana. It looks like it's peeling. It looks like the building is peeling. It's flying out to the side. I didn't think anything about it at the time. I just said it just didn't. I don't know, maybe I had a cognitive idea of how the building should come down if it's going to come down. I don't know. It just looked weird, and it bothered me. And it bothered me, and it bothered me. And I, like many people, I was glued to the TV set. I was glued to anything that had anything to do with 9/11. I wanted to know more. How could our country allow this to happen? How could this go on with the best, where we're told, the best defense system in the world, on the planet, and there's no one better than us? And it bothered me. And it bothered me. And it bothered me. December of 2001, I'm watching a documentary about the first line workers in the construction industry that are cleaning up this godforsaken mess. And they're wearing rubber boots. And here it is 8-10 weeks later. And they're having to replace their boots every several hours because the boots begin to melt. Well, that didn't sit right with me. That doesn't make sense. It said that it came down because of jet fuel. If you see what happened, a lot of people claimed that the majority of the jet fuel was burned up on impact, if there even was jets, but that's a whole other story. So my mind kept saying, I need to know more. I was like an addict in a way. I would stay up very late at night, looking for bits and pieces of information that could help me make sense of what happened to us. And one night in February, on a Saturday night, I don't remember the date, but I know it was a Saturday, and I know it was around midnight because my son caught me at my computer, crying like a baby. He asked me the next morning if somebody died. So I wouldn't talk. I couldn't say anything. I had discovered that night that the war that I was involved in, it's all based on a lie. That my friends that died, physically died for a lie. And it was really hard. Sometimes talking about it is really hard. They died for a lie. Their lives were gone because of a lie. And they told us about 60,000, roughly, of our generation. I mean, that's even if they tell you the truth, who knows? Perished in that war. I can't tell you how many Vietnamese perished in that war. All based on a lie. People died over nothing more than a lie. And I'm not talking just one person would be too much, but this is hundreds of thousands of people when you put it all together. I had friends that went there, came back in a box. I had friends that went there, came back. They might as well have been in a box. They weren't they weren't the people. I was going to say they weren't my friends, but they were. They weren't the friends in the mental state that left when they came back. They weren't them. They were changed. And there was a lot of things that they lost. One of my friends and I, we worked overnight. We worked from 4 p.m. to 7 a.m. Those were our duty hours. And at midnight, we'd go to the chow hall and we get breakfast or dinner. It was your choice. This particular night, we went to the chow hall and we ate. Returning to our duty station, a car drove by and backfired. In the blink of an eye, my friend disappeared. I had calling him and calling him and calling him. I couldn't find him. And finally, he appeared. And when he did, I found him in the bushes in a fetal position. He was having a flashback. He thought he was back in Nam. He thought it was an explosion. He thought he was being shot at. He was shaking like a baby. It took me about 10 or 15 minutes to help him settle down. That's the tip of the iceberg. And when I found out that our government had lied to us in order to get into this war, I thought about people like that. I thought about what has happened to people like that over a lie. Over a lie. And then in the coming times, I watched our government lie again. Weapons of mass destruction, attack a country, lie again. Afghanistan is harboring a, I don't know what you call him, a world terrorist, a terrorist who's supposedly responsible for all of this. We want him. And I read that Afghanistan says, well, give him to you, just tell us, show us the evidence that you have. No, we're coming to get him, never mind. So in a brief period, we attacked two countries for no valid reason. They weren't, either one of them were threatening us physically. And I watched it continue. And then at that point, my eyes were wide open. I was looking at everything. And the more I looked, the more I found. And the more I found, the more disheartened I became. I found out that my government, the people that I served, the people that I gave them a check over my life, written in blood to the last drop, was doing things to harm us. They didn't care. They didn't give a damn. Why? I can't tell you why. I can tell you why I think. It's about power and money, but I don't know. I may be wrong. There may be something else involved, but I knew what I knew. I knew that our government was involved in different activities that were actually harming the citizenry. And at that point, I decided I can't keep my mouth shut anymore. There's this fire that is within me that wants to know what is going on. I have to tell other people. I tried being quiet. It was like a cancer eating me from the inside out. Those of you who know me know I had to deal with that twice already in my life. 2 times I've had to deal with cancer in my life. And I found out about the lies from all over. It wasn't just political. It was lies about our energy. It was lies about our health care. It was lies about our food. It was lies about our water. It was lies about religion. It was just lies on top of lies on top of lies. And I began to question. I began to look. And I began to search for people who were genuine. So many people believe that the last president was a genuine man. He smiled. He spoke with such eloquence. He could give you and deliver to you a message that would make you cry. Yet when you turn your back on that man, I hope to God that you have a steel plate on, because the knife is coming out. Today we have a man who doesn't speak out eloquently. He speaks from his heart. He speaks like someone who's not been involved in being trained in how to use words in order to move people and then to betray them when your time comes. And this man is vilified. He's attacked day in and day out. And I'm not talking about just verbally. Him, his family. So what can I do? As somebody who's been doing this radio thing for going on 6 years now, I have a following of, I know a definitive following is close to 1,000. What can I do for those people who are following me in order to move them to make better decisions, to help us all have a better society? Because in the direction that we're going, it's not good. So in my searching for people, I ran across this man, Mike Vilardi. When I looked at the credentials and when I was told what kind of man he was, I said, this is the kind of guy that we need. This is the kind of guy who will look you in the eye and say, sorry, I can't do that. But I can do this. This is the kind of guy that will tell you if it is A plus B and I will get it done, A plus B will be done when the opportunity arrives for him up there. If we can't find more people like this to help us take back our country, we are doomed. And some of you may think I'm exaggerating. I want you to think very carefully what's going on in California. Think very carefully what's going on in New York. We are basically a democratically controlled county here in Palm Beach. Lots of Democrats. And I think Democrats as people, I think they want the same thing we do. It's just that their party is just completely gone off the rocker. They're just gone. If we don't do something now, my friends, What are you going to tell your children? What are you going to tell your grandchildren? What did you do, Dad, to help us? What did you do, Grandpa? Because when they ask me, I'm going to tell them I did everything that I could do. I cannot accept what is happening to us today. I cannot. From the little things like the masks, forcing you to wear a mask. I had to do work for a police station. I almost got into an argument with the chief. I said, this is ridiculous. I put the damn mask on. It goes against everything. I explained to them. I was in there for 15 or 20 minutes with a mask on. I had to come out. I wasn't going to argue with a man with a gun. I go into different places. They look at me like I've got the plague. Why? Why is it like that? Why don't we have freedom of choice? Isn't this what my friends and I've served, and how many other people have served this country for freedom? Isn't freedom about choice? Or maybe it is, and maybe we've made some bad choices. Well, I'm giving you an opportunity. You here in Palm Beach County, this is an opportunity for you to make a good choice. This is an opportunity for you to help us get our country back. And that opportunity is Mike Vilardi. I'm going to have him on in just a minute. We're going to take a break. And when I come back, I'll have Mike on with me. And you have questions for him, I'll give you the number. You can call in. You can ask him your questions. I'm sure he has answers for you. This is, a lot of people call me an exaggerator. They call me a fearmonger, a couple of other names that I won't say on the radio. I do my best to give you what I believe is the most accurate information that I have. Sometimes it's my opinion. Sometimes it's facts. And what I'm telling you is a fact. This election is either going to make this country or it's going to break this country. There's no question about that. Either side will tell you the same thing. We're either going to make it or break it, this election. Either America is going to succeed and begin to rebound back to the America it once was, or we're going to completely collapse. And we will literally fall under communistic society, because it's already starting. It's already happening in California. It's happening in New York. And there are actually places here in Florida that they're pulling this nonsense. So if we can't find people like this, like Mike Vilardi, who's willing to stand up to them, and he'll tell you, he stood up to a lot of criminals in his life. He's not afraid of these people. That's what we need. Those of you who support Trump, look at what he's done. No other time in history, I've been here 67 years on this planet. I have never, ever, could I ever imagine in my wildest dreams the amount of corruption, how deep, how wide it is. And one man is responsible for exposing it all. One man and his team. That would be a little more accurate. But it was because of the beliefs of one man and his ability to move forward against a seemingly concrete wall. That's the kind of people that we need. That's the kind of guy Mike is. We'll be right back.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill.
Step right up, step right up. No tricks, no magic, nope, just real people covering real issues. When you're tired of the circus, join the veterans of talk radio for serious discussions on the topics you care about. WCET, bringing the truth back to talk radio, leaving the circus to them. WCET Radio loves what we do, and we know you do too. That is why we need you now. If everyone would make a small contribution each month, we would never have to worry about going off the air, folks. We count on you each and every month, so please help WCET Radio and all of our hosts here on this wonderful station continue to bring you the best guests with the best information. Go over to WCETFM.com and click on the donate button and subscribe now. WCETFM.com. your talk station. WCET-FM has just released the app. So now you can take WCET Radio everywhere you go. Just go to the Google Play Store and search WCET-FM. That's WCET space FM and install it. Then it's ready to go. Oh, and did I mention it's free? Well, it is. WCET-FM. We got the app. Late nighters and all those who listen to WCET Radio,
listen up.
The shop is here, and you can order WCET merch right now and show your friends and your neighbors you're awake by wearing one of our many shirts, including our Stop the Censorship shirt. That one is a hot seller, so get yours while supplies last. We have coffee mugs, clocks, so you always know what time it is, books, mouse pads, all your WCET accessories. Just go to WCETFM.com and click the shop tab. That's WCETFM.com and get the shopping.
Late Night in the Midlands is an independent media that covers the truth, theory, and facts that the lamestream media won't talk about. We cover everything from the known, the unknown, the normal, the paranormal, the government lies, the government ties, even their thrives. We tell what's coming, what's going, whether it be politics or archaeologists. We have an amazing fan base, and all shows are archived to be heard millions of times more. So tell your friends, your family, and anyone you care about Late Night in the Midlands and WCETFM.com. Become a late nighter, be informed. Catch us every weeknight at 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern, right here on WCET-FM.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Goes, 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 goes.
Now, from sunny South Florida, it's the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Riscala. Every Saturday night from 9 p.m. to midnight. And now, your host, Riscala.
All right, we are back. It is the Red Pill Reality Show. It is truly an honor and a privilege to be with you tonight. Thank you for taking the time to tune in. I greatly appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to share all of these things that I have. Tonight, it's going to be Mike Vilardi. Mike is running for Congress in District 21 here in Palm Beach County, Florida. If you know anybody out there that lives in Palm Beach County, please ask them to tune in tonight. Give them an opportunity to ask him some questions. And hopefully he'll have an answer for you. Him and I have had several conversations. He's extremely knowledgeable. He's just the kind of guy you want in your corner, especially if he's going to be up there in government. And I'll kind of get into that with him right now. Anyway, welcome, Mike. Thank you for taking the time to call in, my friend.
Oh, thank you. I so appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be back on your show.
It is. It's an honor to have you on. So let's go on a little bit why I back you up so much. Tell the listeners a little bit about what you've done. Let's start with like the IRS. Let's start with that.
Okay, let's start with the IRS. Well, let's start. Well, I was a criminal investigator for the Internal Revenue Service for 22 years. So basically, I was what's called a Treasury agent. And as a Treasury agent, I was also a 9/11 responder. When 9/11 happened, I got detailed to the Staten Island dumps to look for body parts that they were bringing in from the wreckage of the towers. Then after that, I was put on the Joint Terrorism Task Force to track down any leads that came in regarding terrorism for the next couple of months. From there, I started doing organized crime. I spent 17 months developing organized crime cases that were worked with police departments and jointly by either the FBI and us or other agencies. Then I went to the Drug Task Force. I was on the El Dorado Drug Task Force, where my job was to protect the undercover agent when we received money that we launder for the Colombians. After almost having a shootout, I got out off of that, went back to doing the organized crime stuff. I ran the program, the QRP-RPP program was basic, which is you have the bad tax preparers, questionable refund program, and I would go down to the service centers and I would decide which cases that we were going to work criminally and which cases would be worked civilly. And I take the criminal cases back to the office and assign them to the different groups. So I did a lot of work with the United States Secret Service. I was detailed to the Secret Service every year from 1989 till 2001, till 9/11 happened, to do dignitary protection at the UN. So I'd spend either a week or two every year during those years to do dignitary protection. So I had the opportunity to meet people like Yitzhak Rabin, the president of the Maldives Islands. I met Al Gore. I protected his wife Tipper. Clinton one time when he came in. So it was a very, very interesting career. I retired in 2010. When I retired, I became an IRS enrolled agent. As an IRS enrolled agent, I now protect the taxpayer from the IRS. IRS wants to seize your bank account, you call me, and I get them the stuff. I have a company called Winning Tax Solutions. Anybody can go to winningtaxsolutions.com and read all the testimonial letters. I've turned $145,000 tax liabilities into $17,000 tax refunds because sometimes the IRS makes a mistake.
Oh, never.
And most recently I won a big case in New York where these two doctors were wrongly assessed approximately $1 million each with interest and penalties. And I got the appeals division to reverse those assessments. So they wiped out the entire $1 million that they were wrongly assessed.
Would it be fair to say, Mike, that you have the understanding of the inner workings of the relationships between all of these different departments? Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah, listen, I worked for the government for 22 years. I was involved in, task force, whether it be the Joint Terrorism Task Force or the Drug Task Force I was involved in. So I definitely know how the government works. I spent a lot of time with the Secret Service. Even my last couple of years, I did a joint case with them. We'd work this joint jurisdiction, and we'd work cases together. So I had a big case with them. That was my last case. So, yeah, I know how government works. I think I'm the only guy in this race that has worked for a Fortune 500 company. I worked for the Ford Motor Company for 3 years before I went to work for the government. Spent 22 years working for the government, and then the last 9 years in my own business, owning Winning Tax Solutions and Mike Vilardi LLC. So I know what it's like to have to make payroll every week because I have employees that have to be paid. And I know what it's like to be a government employee, and I know what it's like to be a Fortune 500 company employee.
Well-rounded. I also believe that you have been listed as the most qualified of all the candidates. This term has come up repeatedly, that Mike Vilardi is the most qualified. And he's given you a brief idea. He's been through the Secret Service, he's been through the IRS, he's literally dealt with dirty, dirty criminals. So who better to be able to deal with the clean criminals? The only difference between the two is one carries a gun with him all the time. The other one has somebody who carries a gun for him. And they dress in a suit. But they're both criminals. And who better to be able to stand up to somebody like that than somebody who's had the experience of what is necessary in order to get the job done. So that's why I support this man. That's why I ask you to support this guy. Because I believe that when he gets up there, he's not going to be one of those that turns his back on us. He's going to be one of those that stands up for us. Why? Because his history shows so. This is what his history says. This is what's bothering me about what's happening in our country today. We're wiping out our history, taking down statues, we're wiping out all of these things that have part to do with our history and calling it this racism. It's important to remember that there is a track record of this country, and when the track record is gone, we don't have a country anymore. When I'm an employer, the first thing I want to do is know what's the experience of this individual, and how is the experience that this individual has, how is that experience going to help him or hurt him in the job that he's applying for? And I can tell you the experience that this man has is an extreme help, not only to him, but to us eventually, because we are the ones who are going to benefit from this. So this is why I'm supporting Mike Vilardi. Go to Mike Vilardi 2020, I think it is, right? What is it, Mike?
Vilardi 2020. Vilardi 20. Vilardi 2020. Vilardi2020.com.
Go there and you'll see and you'll learn about this man, what he's done, and what he believes. This is the kind of guy that we need. Go ahead, Mike. I got a couple of callers on. Our callers, I'll get right to you in just a moment. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, the reason I'm in this is because I am the most qualified person for the job. And, what I haven't mentioned yet is that I also wrote 3 books. I was on TV for 10 years. I currently even have a radio show. And when I was on television, I had the opportunity to sit down with the number 3 guy in the PLO who designed the Islamic takeover of America. His name was Kamal Salim. And if you put Vilardi, Mike Vilardi, TV, Kamal in Google, the show will pop right up. All right, that was one of 8 interviews. I learned radical Islam from another guy called Zachariah Anani, who killed 234 people committing jihad.
Wow.
Okay, so I've had experiences that nobody could come close to. Between my law enforcement career, the people I've met when I work with the United States Secret Service, I met a lot of heads, presidents, kings, queens all over the world. And, when I interviewed, they told me I was the most qualified candidate they have, and I found that to be true. And every time I speak and every time my experience comes out, there's nobody close who's done anything close to what I've done. Plus, I also think I have the strongest platform of anybody that's running, a platform that could win me an election in the Democratic district.
And that's what we need, because we are predominantly Democrat.
Yes,
in this
exactly.
district.
So you got to use wisdom.
And as a result of that, I put part of the blame of this particular county being so slow in recovering. They keep telling us, I don't know what the latest is, but as of about a week ago, schools are still up in the air with schools.
Right.
This is a hot spot for me because I have children I have grandchildren. I have children, but they're grown now. But I have grandchildren. And it's very difficult on my children who both have to work full time in order to make ends meet. What are they going to do with the kids at home? They can't leave a child in front of a monitor for, 2 hours, 3 hours. They can't leave them in front of a monitor for 15 or 20 minutes before they're roaming all over the place.
No, we've gotten away from our foundations.
And that's what we need to do. Right? Would you agree? That's what we need to do is return to our foundation.
Let me tell you, the first thing I plan to do when I get to Congress is read what George Washington said on the congressional floor on October 3rd of 1789. Now, you probably don't remember this. I don't think too many people do. Mm-hmm. Okay, but I'm just going to read you the first sentence. This is when George Washington made Thanksgiving Day a holiday. He said this: "Whereas it is the duty of all nations to acknowledge the providence of Almighty God, to obey His will, to be grateful for His benefits, and humbly to implore His protection and favor. And whereas both houses of Congress have by their joint committee requested me to recommend to the people of the United States a day of public thanksgiving and prayer to be observed by acknowledging with grateful hearts the many signal favors of Almighty God, especially by affording them an opportunity peaceably to establish a form of government for their safety and happiness."
Wow.
Now, first thing he starts with, to acknowledge the providence of Almighty God. And he says to obey His will, to be grateful for His benefits, and humbly to implore His protection and favor. Do you think Nancy Pelosi does that every day?
No. I don't think so. I think Nancy Pelosi has a very unique sense of what she thinks following Christ is all about. And it's just whatever happens to work for her at the particular time.
How many people in Congress do you think do what George Washington asked us to do on October 3rd of 1789?
I don't think any of them. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. I can't say with definitively I can't tell you, but in my opinion and what I've observed, I don't think any of them up there. Republicans or Democrats. There may be a couple of Republicans, but no, generally speaking, the majority of them, I say no. They wouldn't.
That's why the first thing I want to do is read that on the congressional floor as a congressman and remind everybody what made this country great, why we became the greatest country on earth, and why if we don't get back to that, we will lose it.
Well, we're doomed. Yeah, absolutely. All right, you ready for a call?
Absolutely.
Okay, I have area code 904. Welcome to the Red Pill Reality Show, and I have Mike Vilardi on. You're on with a scholar. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Cindy. I wanted to ask Mike. I know this is a little bit changing the subject here, but we have some local people that were taken out of the John Prince Park. They were the homeless, and they were put into a jail that was empty by the fairgrounds. And what I just found out today is that for the people that were homeless, in order to go to this place, they had to sign their rights away. So now they've become ward of the state, and they're not able to leave. They're not able to do anything. Because this is such a local issue and this is such a injustice of humanity, what can be done about this, and what will you do as a congressman to rectify this kind of behavior from our local government?
Well, Cindy, I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm going to do. I hooked up with a company that if I get elected, that I will partner with. They build what's called earth log homes, which are cheap to manufacture. They have self-sustaining energy. In other words, wind and solar so that the entire complex can be self-sufficient. Okay, and what they need is a grant for the money to build basically this homeless haven, so to speak, and then people that are responsible will have the opportunity to live very inexpensively. We will be able to build basically a small village of homes for these people, be totally self-sustaining, very cheap economically to keep it running. And we'll give people who are responsible again, because you got to take care of it. We'll give it to you, but you got to take care of it. If you're going to destroy it, if you're going to cause problems, if you're going to be a drug addict, then it'll have rules and regulations like anything else. But
right.
This would substantially help the homeless population, because we will be able to build very inexpensive homes, give people a place to live. It'll be self-sustaining. I will provide grant money for this company to do this. They would run it, and it would be like Section 8 housing, except that if there's drug issues, you can't do it. If you're going to be irresponsible, you're going to rob from your neighbors, you're going to commit any other crimes, you're out of there.
That's
but
fair.
If you were somebody who's like some of the veterans, you and I, we've gone down to that park.
Right.
We've met some of those people. Some of them have just they got old, they didn't plan for their future, and now they're 67, 68, they can no lose 70 years old, they can't work, and they're only getting $500 a month in Social Security. That's primarily people like that who don't have the money but are decent people, honest people, were hardworking people. Maybe they didn't plan, or they had a bump along the road in life. But I have a plan to work with this company to make this happen, so that we could help our homeless in this way. Now, again, the ones that are going to be the criminals, the drug addicts, that's another story. But the ones that are displaced and that just hard on their luck, things have happened. They lost a spouse. They didn't have money. They can no longer afford a $2,000 a month rent, whatever it is. We're going to take care of those people, Cindy.
Right. So if you saw that somebody did have a drug addiction problem and you see all these things that are in there and they do have criminal kind of activity, would you steer those that have the mental health issue or the drug addictions to a place that actually would be able to help them? And
yes, of course. That's what would have to happen. I mean, unless it's a violent criminal, then obviously you'd have to get the police involved. Yeah.
Right.
But
all
yeah,
right, that sounds great to me. Thank you so much, because that's really becoming, like I said, a real big issue right here, right in our own backyard. And I really care about that because I care about the people. And like you said, as we met many of them just fell on hard times, and they shouldn't be locked up in a jail and not be allowed to release and have to sign their life away. It's just disgusting.
I can't believe that.
Unfathomable.
I can't believe that.
Right? No. I mean, we would need we'd get a land grant from the federal government. There's a whole section where I've already discussed with the guy that owns the company where we could buy the property relatively cheap. It's a little outside of our district, but that's okay. Not too far outside of our district. But we could get it done, and we could really start a trend.
Wonderful.
You know, of taking care of these people because
that's
it's a
very
problem all over the place. So.
Wow. I fear that there's going to be more and more of that homelessness coming up here as we have been forced not to go to work, told not to go to work. While one business is, I'm one of them. I'm not far away from it at this point.
Right.
I'm going into 6 months. 6 months on reserves. You know. So it is tough.
So what about them being wards of the state, though? Because if they sign their lives away, then they're wards of the state. How do we stop them from being wards of the state? They're just, like I said, many of them, as you know, Mike, are just ran on. They didn't think about their future. They didn't have all their work days in to collect, their Social Security. And again, now a lot of them are able to vote as well. Can they vote for this? Can there be some kind of? I know we have to dig a little deeper to find out, because what they've had them sign their lives away has basically made them wards of the state.
Wow. Well, I mean, did they do that voluntarily? Was it involuntary? Did someone put a gun to their head?
That's the only way they would let them have housing, and they were deceived. You know, many of them don't really understand all the jargon, and so they kind of were deceived into it without really fully probably comprehending what they were actually doing.
Wow.
Well, that would have to be investigated.
Right, and that's something that but I think that's what happened when they had them sign these documents. They actually made them wards of the state. They put them in this prison that's right there off of Southern Boulevard, and it still has the barbed wire around it, and they're not letting these people leave.
Yeah, it's right by the fairgrounds, right next to the fairgrounds.
Yep.
It's disturbing. I mean, I'm hearing more and more of this kind of activity happening around the world, not just here. Australia's pulling some really crazy stuff as well. And the thing about it, I've had people say, well, what do you care what happens over there? Because what happens over there has a relationship to what happens over here. It affects us over here. You can't just turn a blind eye to it and pretend it's not happening. And it's coming down hard in Australia. And it's happening in California. It's happening in New York. There's a couple of other states where it's starting up. I'm not sure how far they've gotten, but those two states right there have gone overboard. We're checkpoints. If you come into our state from another state, you have to go through our checkpoint. You have to have your papers. That's not me saying it. That's them.
Right.
What does that sound like? Doesn't sound like America to me.
Yeah, it's crazy.
If we can't get people like Mike Vilardi up there who's willing to stand up to this, this is part of the problem. Good old boys are all part of a big club up there. And nobody's willing to stand up to the other one. Hey, what are you doing, man? Come on. You know this is not right. Nobody wants to say that. You get somebody like Mike, he's not afraid to get up there and tell him, hey, this isn't going to cut it. This isn't within the boundaries of what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be helping the people, not stopping them I don't know, how many places he put up with threats of jail and fines if you come into a state from out of state and don't obey. It's disturbing. It's very disturbing. Thank you for the call, Cindy. Anything else you want to go over before we let you go?
That's it for right now, but if someone's listening, I have to give a plug for myself. Sorry, Mike, do you mind if I take a little platform for 5 seconds? Okay, I'm running for state committee woman right here in Palm Beach County. That's all of Palm Beach County. And what that is just really to get good candidates to run, and which would help and work with Mike. Also to register more Republicans, and also to do fundraisers to help seed into the candidacies of those who are vetted as good candidates. So again, asking for your vote for Cindy Falco Di Corrado for state committee woman, excuse me. Thank you so much, and I'll get off now.
Okay. Thank you, Cindy.
You're welcome.
All right, Mike, we've still got a couple more calls here. Anybody else have questions for Mike, you feel free to call in. The number is 561-440-5174. I'm going to go to 561-308. You're on with Mike. Go ahead. Well, I see you, but I don't hear you. You want to try it again? 561-308. Or they may be on mute or something. All right, let's try 561-305. Gee. 561-305. Are you there? Well, maybe there's something they're afraid to talk, Mike.
I don't know. What's the call-in number again?
It's 561-440-5174. 561-440-5174. Okay, they both got off, so I guess they're going to call back. Hopefully they'll call back. In the interim, I will ask Mike a couple of things. First of all, who are the other candidates that are running?
Christian Acosta, Reba Sherrill, Elizabeth Felton, Aaron Scallion, and Laura Loomer.
Have any of those done any of the services that you've done?
No.
I don't know anything about the other guys. I got to be honest with you. I really don't. Have any of them served in government before?
Aaron was a cop for 30 years.
Okay. But nothing other than a police, and I don't want to take the credit away from that. I appreciate police, but with regard to working with the government, there's a difference here between being a police officer in Secret Service and an IRS agent. There's a big difference.
Yeah.
The police officer is dealing with local problems. An IRS person or a Secret Service person is dealing directly with, the government that you're going to work for. So again, this is one of the reasons that Mike has been labeled the most qualified. I can't stress enough to listeners, if you guys are, I can't imagine people are happy with what's going on today. I really can't. Mike, let me maybe just kind of put you on the line here, but how do you feel about the mask thing? Do you want to make a comment on that?
Not really. I mean, I'm taking that nightmare situation and use it to my advantage by having masks with my name on it, Vilardi for Congress, to use it.
Yep.
Of course, I'm not crazy about them. You'd rather use a shield myself so you can breathe.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I used it as a camp. I made a nightmare into a daydream by using it to my advantage. By giving them out, I gave out 40 of them today, so that people, when they see them, they walk around, they say Vilardi for Congress, and it's a great way to advertise.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay.
Of course, it's taking away
that's
our
fair.
rights. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, it's where. Listen, I wrote a book on Bible prophecy, MikeVilardiBooks.com. And if you read my book, you'll see that we're in the end times.
Well, I have no question about that. There's no doubt in my mind about that. And here's the thing. When we talk about the end times and we talk about the Bible, and this is my personal opinion, but I know that there's examples of this in the Bible in other places. Even though it's written that it's going to happen this way, I totally believe that with the changing of the hearts of the people, the coming back to the important things, that even though it's written in the Bible that way, there is always an option to change that. There's different places in the Bible where it says God's heart was changed because the people they turned away from the darkness.
Yeah, Nineveh. Right, exactly.
So
exactly.
I even though, and I think the reason that it's written the way it's written is because the odds are they're not going to change. That's the sad part. But I will try with everything I've got to get people to wake up and say, listen, we have an alternative. It doesn't have to be this way. It will be if you continue down the road that you're going. One of my regular guests, David, he comes on and he says something that I've always believed in. If you want to make a change, then you can't keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. How can you expect something to come out different if you continue to do the same thing over and over and over again? Well, here's our opportunity for a change. We have somebody who's willing to step up to the plate and go to bat for us, basically. For us, this is the difference. This is the kind of people that we need. So many of them get up there, and it's not for us anymore. It's for me when they get up there. It's not they lose the us. Now the first thing they worry about when they get up there is I got to work on my reelection. They haven't even gotten it basically a month in office and already working on reelection instead of working on what the people need. I believe if we can send somebody up there like Mike, who will then create a track record of showing that he is for the people, he won't have to worry about getting reelected. The people will recognize what we have, what a golden piece that we have that is part of our government. Somebody who finally sticks up for us. That in itself is a value that is beyond anything that we can find today. Look at what's going on in our country today. Look at what's happening the political divide today has never been greater than I have ever seen before, ever. I've never seen anything like I'm seeing today. And the people on the other side are blatantly admitting we are going to bring this country down. They're calling it their America, but in order to make it their America, they have to bring America down. They have to destroy our country in order to make what they want. Now, if that's what you want, then don't support Mike. Don't support me. Turn me off, because I don't want to have anything to do with you. But I believe the majority of the people believe as I believe. We need to get back to the foundation. We need to go back to what worked. We need to do what we know at one time brought value and honor to this country. And the idea that somebody sitting behind a bench can mandate something to you at one time in this country was unthinkable, let alone doable. We need to get back to that. Mike's the kind of guy. Go ahead, Mike.
No, we do. We are at a crossroads. If Joe Biden wins,
it's over.
Will be $7 a gallon.
It's over.
It's over. Trump, $2 a gallon. And I firmly believe that God is not done with Trump, and he's going to have another term. And I'm running to support him and to help him, and to be there to take on the Democratic Party, because that's what they are.
That's what they've become. That's exactly what they've become. I saw a meme, and I reposted it, and it was so disturbing. It was the different people that voted on the what is it, post-birth abortion, I think is what it's called. Is that the correct term? Where the child is born, and then if the doctor asks the mom, because it was supposed to be aborted, and for whatever reason it didn't happen until the child is born, and the doctor asks the mom, "Do you want the child to live?" And the mom says, "No, let the child die." They tell the doctor then tells the nurses, "Let the child die. Just let it sit there and suffer until it dies." How much more cold-hearted could you be? And to the most innocent of innocents, my God. And the majority of these people are Democrats. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There's about 28 of them. And there isn't not a single Republican.
No.
Not a single Republican. 41 of them total, here it is, 41 total voted to let babies scream until they die if they are born alive. So it's not we're not just talking Republicans and Democrats. We're talking literally about life and death here. Literally about life and death. The other side supports death. It's in your face they support death. My God, they couldn't make it any clearer. If a child is born, it's out of its mother's womb. My God, how much more evidence do you need? There's a life in front of you. No, I don't want it. How cold could you be? So if that's the kind of thing that this is not what we want. This is not what I believe the majority of the people in this country do not want this kind of thing. If you don't think that, Trump's going to win automatically. Trump is not. We have a major ordeal going on right now with these mail-in ballots. The other side is doing the best they can to fraudulently win this election. You look at the people that show up for Joe Biden before all this insanity started at a Joe Biden rally, and look at the people at a Trump rally. There are more people standing in line to go to the bathroom at a Trump rally than there are in the entire amount of people at the Biden rally. But that doesn't mean spit if we don't show up and vote, because they'll manipulate the numbers and make him win. So more than ever before, this is so very important for us to be out there. I don't particularly like I know there's a difference between, and maybe you can clarify it for me, between an absentee and a mail-in, right? There's a difference between the two of them.
Yeah, one you have to request.
An absentee is a request, correct?
Right.
And the other is it just gets mailed in.
Yeah.
And if we do with an absentee, do you know if an absentee is already pre-filled with your name already on it, or is it blank?
They all should be. They all should come with your name pre-filled in. If it comes
But a mail-in ballot does not, does it? I think that's where the problem is.
That's a possibility. I'm not 100% sure.
I think a mail-in ballot gets mailed to you, and then it's one of those forms. If I'm not mistaken, it's one of those forms you tear it off. When you tear it off, you just tore off the portion that's had your name and address on it. Now you have a blank form for you to fill out. I think, I'm almost certain this is the difference between the two. This is why Trump will support lost my track of thought. He doesn't support the mail-ins, and he does support the other. My mind's just on wacko.
Well, here's what I've experienced. Now, I've been living in my house for 6 years. I get 5 ballot requests for people that have not been here for at least 7 years.
Wow.
So I took it down to the supervisor of elections. I said, now, I haven't gotten mail for these people in years. Why am I getting their ballots? So you could take those, and if I wasn't an honest person, right, send them back and say, hey, send me a mail-in ballot, and I would have had an extra 5 votes, right?
Mm-hmm.
They said, well, the reason is because they have to tell us that they moved. So you mean that you're going to keep sending ballots after ballots to people who were no longer there because they didn't tell you that they moved?
Wow.
Yeah, that's how it works. I said, well, maybe you should change the procedure, no?
Wow.
Verify the addresses, because that's where the false ballots come from. Now, you can harvest all those, right? Send them back, get them back in there, and, say, yeah, now it's a crime. It's not that it's not a crime, but the opportunity for fraud is prevalent, and that's the problem. That's
what I was saying earlier about this whole COVID with the testing thing. There's no incentive to be honest. There's every incentive to be dishonest. And the same thing I see here. If it's not an absentee, because I think, again, the way that an absentee works is if I want one, then I call them up and I say, here's my name and here's my voters, who I am. Send me one. But a mail-in ballot is different in the sense that, again, anybody can put their name on it. It's not pre-filled. I'm almost certain an absentee is pre-filled with everything. All you have to do is sign it and who you're voting for, where an absentee is completely blank, and you can put anybody's name on it. Now, there's the problem. There's a big problem.
Yeah, that's a nightmare.
And for people who I've had people laugh at me and say, no, Riscala, we've been doing this for years, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to tell you something. My experience, and I read an article where this could be very plausible. I don't know how accurate the article is, but it is very plausible. In my experience in the business that I have, there have been times when people tried to give me U.S. Postal Service money orders, and they look identical to the real thing. There's no difference whatsoever. I come to find out that guess where they're made? In China. And because China just takes a look at the stuff that we have, and they just duplicate it. And it was absolutely, you could take a regular Postal Service money order, and this fake, and you could put them alongside of each other and stare at them for an hour. You wouldn't see a difference between the two of them until it came time to cash one of them. That's when you would find out that one of them was a fraud and one of them wasn't. If they're able to do that with a money order and put all the security stuff in there, the little tab and all of that stuff, and the holograms and all of that on the money order, don't you think for a moment they could do that with a ballot which doesn't even have any of that stuff on it? And make it look as official as you could imagine.
Oh, yeah, no, there was a scam when I was working with the government that was coming out of Africa. And what they do is they'll send you a check. Let's say you wanted to get a timeshare for a month or something, okay? And they say, well, it's $10,000. I'll say, okay, great. You know what? Here, we're just going to send you $15,000. Just cash it and then send us the difference. Well, by the time they figure out that that bank in Africa has no money in it and it's a fake check because it's drawn on some African bank, okay, they've already sent the $4,000 back to you. So you get away with $4,000 and you get stiff with a bad check.
Yep. Yep, and it happens frequently. So my point being is these people in China are able to duplicate. It wouldn't surprise me if we end up finding out they've actually duplicated our money as well. But they're able to duplicate these postal money orders to the point where, I mean, again, you could put one alongside the other and you could not see the difference. If they're able to do that, I have no doubt in my mind they can do it with a ballot as well and make it look as official as you can be. So that's why I'm against the mail-in ballots and I support the absentee ballots. Again, the absentee ballot will come from the local mailing district, the local voting district. It'll come from whoever's in charge of your district to you. You are the one who requests it, and it comes to you. A mail-in ballot is just a general open form. Too easy to cheat. Too easy.
Yep, I agree with you, and that's why you also need voter ID at the polls. I mean, the fact that you need an ID to do everything from cash a check, right, to get into a bar. But you don't need it to vote is ridiculous. But the reason is, listen, the Democratic Party's not running on an agenda where that's a better platform. They're running on higher taxes, less freedoms.
Hate. Right? They're running on hate. We hate the president. Anything but this guy.
Right.
We hate. Right. Help us hate the president. Put us in office and help us hate the president. That's what they want. Along with all of the other insane things, and all of it leads to one thing: the destruction of this country.
Exactly.
I get frustrated because people tell me, "Muscala, you're exaggerating. You don't know what you're talking about," and they don't see. It's amazing. And I have one friend who I love dearly. This person is the kindest person, cares about other human beings. I just could not go on and tell you. I could go on for a long time and tell you what a wonderful person this is. But my golly, when it comes time to recognizing what the government is doing, absolutely doesn't see it. Not for the life of this person. Does not see it. And they are a well-educated, they have a master's degree, and yet they cannot see it. So I think sometimes the intelligence works against some of these people. I think part of the problem is this particular person watches a tremendous amount of television, spends a lot of time thinking that they're getting informed from places like CNN and MSNBC and ABC and CBS. It's sad that they don't question. And when I come along and I bring up the question, they laugh at me. Oh, what do you know? You haven't had whatever the particular subject is. You haven't, you're not well equipped in that area. I'm not. I've never served in government. I've served for the government. But there's certain things that I can look at. I can look at a comparison between yes and no and say, well, all of these yeses versus all of these no's. Well, I got 20 yeses over here and I got 2 no's over there. It's not a very difficult decision to make. You go with all the yeses. It's not that hard to do. It doesn't require a large degree of intelligence to look at something logically. Just get your emotions out of it. This is one of the things that the dark side, as I refer to him, has been so successful at. Manufacturing hate in this country. They blame it on the president. And in a kind of a twisted way, it is the president. The reason it is the president is because he is exposing them. That's the only part that he played in bringing out the hate in this country. He is exposing the hate, and therefore they're really they're just like gasoline on a fire kind of thing. They've really gone nuts. But the problem that I see today is the Democratic platform is primarily hate. They hate anybody who supports Trump. They hate Trump. They don't like the police. They want to defund. What kind of insanity? What kind of a sane person would tell you we don't want police? I'm not for defunding the police. I am all for retraining the police because I think some of them need retraining. They don't have the ability to de-escalate. But that's a whole other story. But defund the police? Why don't we just cut our feet off and say, well, we don't need our feet. Let's just walk on our whatever's left there. You know, we don't need
You know,
to
what
be.
you just said reminds me of something that Jesus told the Pharisees. He said, because you say that you can see, you remain blind.
Wow.
And they just can't see the truth and the obviousness in front of their face.
And a lot of them, when we have discussions, they don't see the spiritual side, Mike. That's the problem. And people, we are in a spiritual war. Whether you want to admit it or not, whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter. If you can stop the sun from coming up tomorrow, then you come talk to me. We'll do some crazy stuff. But the point of the matter is, there's nothing that you can do about the spiritual war that's going on that affects our lives other than be knowledgeable and do your part to fight in it. Because whether you like it or not, it's going on, and it has an effect on our reality. What would you say? How would you characterize somebody who would torture a child to the point that they black out? Torture them to the point that they black out, and then they peel the skin off of them and eat them. Is that a person? Is that a human being?
That's evil.
Because that's what we have today. And if you think I'm exaggerating, you're in for a very rude awakening. I am not exaggerating. That's what these people do.
When I was on the job, when I first started back in the 80s, I started looking into satanic cults that were getting involved in child trafficking, and I can't even tell you the spiritual attack that comes on you when you get involved in that sort of stuff.
Some of the stuff I read, Mike, I tell you, I start reading it, and I got to stop. I just break down and start. I can't believe that people could be so absolutely callous and cold and so dark, just so dark.
Yeah,
but they're there. They are there. And I believe the reason that they are there and the reason that they're able to get away with what they get away with is because of the spiritual warfare that's going on that a lot of people don't realize, they don't recognize. They think it's all, that's just pie in the sky or scholar. There isn't. No, there really is. There's a big spiritual warfare going on. And what we do down here has a big effect on what's going on up there. And what's going on up there has a big effect on what's going on down here.
Right, exactly. You know, when I interviewed Zachariah Anani, who killed 234 people,
wow,
committing jihad, and he talked about he killed his first person at 16.
Oh my God!
And they celebrated it. That's the day he became a man, and his father took him into the living room and gave him a dagger to celebrate that he became a man by killing his first person.
Wow.
Because Islam is totally different. People don't understand Islam. People like Zach, they thought they were freedom fighters because they were fighting for Allah.
Mm-hmm.
And, you and I believe that Jesus Christ died on that cross for our sins and he paid the price. But if you're a Muslim, you're taught that you have to appease Allah, that he will weigh your good deeds against your bad. And if you don't have enough good deeds, then you have to commit jihad. When you commit jihad, you appease Allah by bringing the enemies of Allah, the heads of the enemies,
mm-hmm.
all the Christians, the Jews, and go, Allah, see, I killed all these people for you, and their blood, the blood of those that you killed, will cleanse the sins of your loved ones. That's why when you see mass shootings or you see the planes going into the building, because they believe the more people they kill, the more of their family members and friends that'll be saved into Allah's paradise. Now, people don't know that.
Wow.
But Zach talked about the darkness, that he became like a killing machine. Okay? And to kill somebody meant nothing to him.
Wow.
And he heard a Christian minister talking, and he went looking for a fight. In all honesty, he used to go out and he used to fight just because he liked to fight. He was good at it. And he went into town to look for a fight, and there was just an old guy there and nobody else. He went to see a movie. He comes out of the movie and he sees this one guy. There's a crowd of people, and he's a Christian minister. And the guy ministered to him, gave him his card, said, Jesus loves you. He never, said, never heard that before. Gave him his card, said, anything, you call me. This is what, the guy said to Zach. So Zach, a week later, he got into a dispute with his boss, and he decided he was going to kill his boss, and he got tired of killing people, and he had a gun in his hand, and he calls this Christian minister. He says, I'm going to go and I'm going to shoot my boss right now. He says, unless you stop me. He says, you need to see me right now. So Zach this minister met with Zach and prayed with him, and he got saved, and he took that gun, he threw it into the ocean, and he became a Christian. And, from the time he became a Christian, there was 19 attempts made on his life. 19 attempts. And 4 years ago, he was found dead in his car at the airport in Toronto. He was living in Canada. And I don't know if it was the 20th time that they got him or if he died of natural causes, because he did have problems with liver and, he had issues. But when you leave Islam, the penalty is death.
Yeah.
People don't know that.
There's no peaceful leaving.
Yeah.
There's no peaceful separation.
There's not my friend Kamal, who I told you he was an assassin from Muammar Gaddafi, and he planned the Islamic takeover of this country. We did 8 TV shows together. A couple of years ago, he called me. He was getting all sorts of calls from the Mideast. And he thought they were calling to make fun of him that he became a Christian, because these were people who were, in his terror groups with him, And they said, no, we're not calling you for that. He says, we're in Iran, and we Jesus is walking through the mosque, saying, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Come and follow me. And a couple of the imams actually accepted him and believed it, and they killed the imam.
Holy smokes!
Because you cannot be a Christian in Iran.
You can't be, in the eyes of Islam, you can't be a Christian and be a former person who practices that religion. You can't defect. There's no defects. No living defects.
You have no free will.
Yeah.
There's no free will in Islam.
Yeah.
You must appease Allah. I know I'm getting off the track here, but that's something else that people don't understand.
Well, you know what? Sadly, we have a lot of people that think like that are working in our government, that are Congress people, that are senators, working in our government that think like that.
And that's why the church needs to rise up and put Christian people in. And I can't even tell you the difficulty I've had with going to the churches and getting support. My own pastor in the church I was going to, and I won't name the church, said they were worried about losing their 501c3, so that they couldn't support me publicly.
I have a friend of mine who goes to one of the largest churches here in Palm Beach County. If I told you the name, you'd know it. It's everywhere. I asked him, first of all, is the church talking about anything what's going on? Oh, no, they don't want to talk about anything like that. Why? I don't know. They just don't want to talk about anything like that. They never talk about anything like that. I said, so give me an idea. What are they talking about? It's just stuff that, when I leave, I feel good. Oh, that's nice. But they don't talk about the reality, what's going on now. I said, could you get me a meeting with any one of the pastors or maybe one of the sub-pastors? I don't know what they call them, co-pastor or whatever it is. Nope, they don't want to talk to you. They don't want to have anything to do with you. They want to talk about this kind of stuff. Have you ever asked them why? And he said, well, one of them, kind of roundabout way, said they were very concerned about their ability, their tax liability, that they get so much money from the people that come to their church. They believe that the people who are donating to the church not only donate to help God, but one of the main reasons is, I get to write it off. And therein lies the problem. We've gotten away from the integrity of why are you doing what you're doing? If you're doing what you're doing because you're worried about losing a certificate, then you're doing is wrong. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. That's the fact. That's an absolute fact. If you're more worried about your 503c than you are making sure that the people in your church have a better understanding of what's going on today, you're not serving. That's not serving God.
And let me tell you two things. I worked for the IRS department for 22 years. They don't go after. They're not going to even look at that. Okay. And the reason they're not, it's not in the IRS code. It's called the Johnson Amendment. Okay, Johnson Executive Order, which Trump repealed.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
And secondly, if the IRS ever did that, I'm the guy to call. We would straighten that out right away.
But he repealed it. So really, they don't have a logical or a legitimate, is the word I'm looking for. They don't have a legitimate excuse. If Trump has said this is no longer in place, right, then there's what legitimacy is to that excuse? Well, we're worried about our 503.
No, they will not go after it. They can't. They have no standing to. They have no standing to.
But here's the point, Mike, and I think you understand what I'm saying. They shouldn't be worried about that. That shouldn't be something that...
Of course no, believe me, how do you think I felt when you go to a church for years and say, hey, Pastor, listen, I'm running for Congress, would you support me? Well, we got to worry about our 501c3. We don't want to really risk that. I'm looking at him. You know what I said to him? I said, wait a minute. So you want to have a godless woman in office instead of a godly man because you're worried about the 501c3? Well, Mike, it's just that, I'm like, that's what you're going to tell Jesus on the Judgment Day?
Lukewarm.
It's like, you got to be kidding me.
You know what the Christ said about lukewarm, right?
Yeah,
lukewarm.
Of course I do. It's in Revelation. I'll spit you out.
That's lukewarm. That's what happens. He's going to spew you out of his mouth. It's sad, and it's because the church should have been our first line of defense, and it has been infiltrated. And I just want people who listen to me to understand, I don't pretend to be perfect. First of all, I don't claim to be a Christian, because there's too many people that say they're a Christian and they're not. I claim to be a follower of the Christ. I claim to want to know the love that the Christ had for his fellow man, because I know, as far as I can tell, nobody has ever had that kind of love for their fellow man, even after they've literally almost skinned the man alive from whipping him to death. Nobody has ever had that. I don't have that kind of love. You hit me, I want to take your lights out right there on the spot. You hit him, he wanted to give you a kiss on the cheek. I'd like to know how that happens. If we could have more of that kind of thing going on, we'd have a hell of a lot less of the darkness that's happening in this place today. We'd have a hell of a lot less of these people, and we'd be so easy to recognize these people. They'd be gone.
Well, it's funny you should say that, but I remember when I interviewed Kamal and I met him, you could feel the love of God coming from this guy. Now, this is a guy who was an assassin who killed many, many people, okay? And he said to me, Mike, he says, what Islam doesn't train you for is love. In other words, the love of God permeates and changes these people because they're not taught to love. Allah, you submit to Allah. You do Allah's will. Allah says with a headband, where you do what you're told. You pray 5 times a day. You do this, you do that, you do the other thing. You don't have free will. And you're not loved. It's not like Christianity, where God's love and God's mercy saves you, and you feel his anointing in the presence of God, and miracles happen, and you go from one miracle to another. That's totally different in Islam. It's hate. It's based on hate.
Was Kamal's last name Salim? Was that the guy?
That's right.
So he actually ended up living up to his name, because Salim in Arabic is if I'm not mistaken, is a pluralistic form of peace. If they've seen in between the languages, it's hard to describe it, but there's like a plural form of peace, and that's salam is peace, and then salim would be like a plural form of peace.
You would never, you meet this guy and you would never have imagined, what he's
he got to live up to his name.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Wow.
But
all right. Hold your thought for a minute, Mike. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back. We'll give anybody else want to give us a call. We're going to be on a break. You can call in during the break. The phone number is 561-440-5174. That's 561-440-5174. You give us a call right after the break. Don't go away. You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show. Tonight I have Mike Vilardi on with me. Mike is running for District 21 here in Palm Beach County. And what I've been saying all night is, if you want somebody who's going to stand up for you, it's time to make a change. You can't keep doing the same thing and expecting to see a different outcome. Can't keep putting these people that have been up there for years and years and years and expecting them to have a change of heart all of a sudden. It's just not reality. It's just not going to happen. Here's somebody that can stand up for us. That's the best way I can put it. We'll be right back.
Do you enjoy WCET Radio? Are you addicted to the wide variety of topics and personalities? Do you know we depend on you to survive? Well, we do, and that's why I'm asking you all to dig deep into your pockets and spare a little change, so we can bring you change, whether it's natural cures or news blurbs, archaeologists or psychologists, scientists or evangelists, even UFOs and the flipping of our poles. We have it all right here on WCET Radio. So come on over to our website and contribute today, because without you, there is no us. WCET Radio. We cover everything.
Late Nighters and WCET radio listeners around the world, listen up. The shop is here, and you can order WCET Radio and your favorite shows swag right now and show your friends and your neighbors you're awake by wearing one of our many shirts, including our Stop the Censorship shirt. That one is a hot seller, so get yours while supplies last. We have coffee mugs, clocks so you never miss your favorite shows, books, mouse pads, and more coming soon. Just go to WCETradio.com and click the shop link. That's WCETradio.com and get to shopping.
WCET-FM has the app, so now you can take WCET Radio everywhere you go. Just go to the Google Play Store and search WCET-FM. That's WCET space FM and install it. Then it's ready to go. Oh, and did I mention it's free? Well, it is. WCET-FM. We got the app.
Hey, late nighters, keep up with all things WCET Radio by joining our mailing list. Just go to the bottom of the homepage and fill in the Stay Informed form. Then click the Get Latest News button. You will get everything from guest info and show info and other important station-related information. So sign up now and get a special promo offer just for email subscribers.
Pet Connect Plus offers a connection to your pet, living or past, with the use of Tarot. Ruby, the owner and intuitive reader for Pet Connect Plus, will make a connection to your pet for guidance on specific questions and general past, present, and future readings of your pet. A connection with an owner and a pet together will run $55 for 50 minutes, or a connection with one pet alone is $35 for 30 minutes. What a deal. Pet Connect Plus can be found at PetConnectPlus.com and on Facebook at Pet Connect Plus. Connect with Pet Connect Plus so we can make a connection with your beloved pet to provide them with a fulfilling and rewarding relationship with you. Get connected today. PetConnectPlus.com.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red pill.
That's right. Take the red pill and learn the truth, because once you learn the truth will set you free. And that's what I try to do to the best of my ability. It's like the saying goes, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more. If you want someone who's going to stand in your corner, you have an opportunity to have that person go to bat for you. And that person is Mike Vilardi. He's running for District 21, Congress in District 21, Mike Vilardi. Go to his website. What's the website, Mike? He put himself on hold. On mute. Are you there, Mike? Uh-oh. Something happened. It looks like I lost your let's try it again. Try it again, Mike. I lost you altogether. I don't know what happened. Give me a second. All right, go ahead.
Okay. It's www.Vilardi2020. VILARDI2020.com.
All right, I got it that time. And it looks like Cindy's still on hold. Cindy, do you have another comment you want to make, another question?
Not at this time. Well, I do want to talk about the policing. As everybody knows, I was in a little altercation with a police officer who obviously did not know his Constitution nor anything else. Mike, if you become congressman, what would you do with this policing that is really kind of abusive? Not all cops, just there's a few bad ones. And what do you have to say that would address the situation to this to not happen to citizens? This is ridiculous.
Well, okay, there's two things. First of all, I would provide them with money for federal training. Training, as a federal law enforcement officer myself, we got basically 4 times the training of an average cop. Now, the reason for it was simple. If I, as an IRS criminal investigator, shoot somebody I shouldn't shoot, that is going to be a very big deal. That could destroy the entire IRS. So the government realized that going in, so they made sure we had what's called simulations training, which is like taking for live fire, and we have what's called a FATS machine. That's a firearm training system where you go through scenarios. And basically you go into a room and it's a dedicated machine and it interacts with you. So you have a gun just like the one you're issued, except it shoots a laser. But that laser will get registered on the screen. And if you hit the bad guy, you kill him, that's one thing. But if you miss, he shoots back and you have an interaction. So they'll have scenarios like you're going along, there's a guy in the bench, you say, show me your hands, show me your hands. The guy turns around, boom, there's a wallet. You know, if you shoot him, you lose your gun. So training like that, and they also need better defensive tactics training. The techniques they used with you were ridiculous. That would never happen in a federal situation. So they need to learn better federal techniques. You don't see Secret Service agents, the FBI, IRS Treasury agents. You don't see those kind of encounters with criminals on the street as they had with you, and you never even should have been arrested. That was totally wrong. But by saying the techniques were really lacking. So I will make sure that they get the proper training to learn those techniques. And if there is a bad officer, they need to have a system in place to remove that bad officer before they can destroy an entire police department, like Derek Chauvin did in Minnesota. He had 18 prior violations. They never did anything. Amy Klobuchar actually was the prosecuting attorney who decided not to prosecute him. But nevertheless, he should not have had that job. He should not have been out in the public. He should not have been out having arrest authority. He should have been behind a desk if they were going to keep him. And so that has to change. That's another issue that will definitely have to be addressed. It's how IA can internal affairs can effectively get rid of bad cops quickly so that they don't do damage to the reputation of the police department.
Got anything?
Works for me.
I was going to mention to you, Cindy, you had said the defunding thing. Are you hearing about any of that here in Palm Beach County?
I've not personally heard about defunding the police here, no, but I definitely think that we need to do a sweep and clean out of bad cops that do not do the citizens correctly, and they're not protecting the citizens. They're treating the citizens as criminals and the criminals as if they are protected peoples, like they did with the Black Lives Matter, with that same police officer that choked me and karate chopped me, and then the next night was on I-95 walking with Black Lives Matter, smiling, handing them water.
Well, let me ask you a question, Cindy. Who there been a Democrat or Republican that's been in charge of the police department for the last 20 years?
It's a Democrat. You know it.
Yeah.
Okay. So
And they're in his, I don't know how much of the equation that plays, but to me, in my opinion, it plays the majority of the equation because of that party. It seems almost, I can't think of the right word. It's almost automatic. If there's somebody in the Democratic Party that is going to be a senator or a congressman or a mayor or council person, if they're Democratic, they seem to lean to this over-authoritarian, they've just gone bonsai. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. It's way beyond the authority that they're permitted. And it seems like, though, here's the best way I can explain it. It's one of those where if you give them an inch, they take a mile. Those are the kind of people that they seem to be. They're never happy with what they have. They want more and more and more. And even if it hurts you, it doesn't matter as long as they get what they want.
Yeah, I mean, when you give somebody authority, you have to be careful who you're giving it to.
I agree.
And that's another issue. You know, it's a tough job. Who the heck wants to be a cop now in New York City? Right? I mean, nobody wants the job. I had a buddy of mine. We've been friends for a long time. I mean, since the '90s. And you know, he was going to stay on the force a little while longer, and he put in his papers in. I mean, his last day was July 31st. There are so many people looking to get out that they can only process like 400 a month. I mean, okay, they got 4,000 people wanting to leave at the same time.
Holy smokes.
Because they killed their overtime. They cut their budget by $1 billion. So now if they have like the Macy's parade, they can't pay the cops overtime to work. They're not going to have they can't, those other cops that otherwise would have been off but do it for the overtime because that's how they make their money. That overtime money's all gone.
You mean the city paid for, like the Macy's parade, the city pays for the police? I thought the parade paid for that.
No, the city would have the extra cops because of all the crowd control. So they would bring out all those cops on the city, and that was overtime money that was built in.
Holy smokes! I was completely. I always thought, I don't know why, but I always thought whoever put the parade on, whoever was responsible for the parade, was responsible to see to it that security was paid, and that security, of course, would be the police. I didn't realize this coming out of the. Oh my God! Wow.
No, but you got to remember that also the parades like that bring revenue into the city. So the city wants that kind of revenue. You know, people would come to see it, to buy things, to profit the businesses. But that was in the budget. They just cut $1 billion out of their budget. Who wants to be a cop?
Wow.
These cops are getting spit on. They're getting rocks thrown at them. They're getting attacked.
There was one, Mike, I read a story where one cop was attacked. I think this was in New York. The cop was attacked by two guys. They knocked him down, and he pulled his gun on him, and they ran away, and they want to hold a cop responsible for pulling the gun on him. Did you hear about that? I think that was New York.
Well, that's absolutely ridiculous.
I'm almost certain it was in New York, that he pulled the gun on him, and when he pulled the gun on him, they ran away. This is the insanity that we're dealing with. That's what I'm saying. Some of this stuff you couldn't even make. I don't think Rod Sterling could have made some of this stuff up. It's just so insane. And I
right
don't.
Is wrong. Wrong is right. I mean,
I don't know who to be more mad at: the people who have the brass to do this, or the people who sit idly by and do nothing about it. How do you accept this kind of behavior? I don't. I can't. As hard as I would try, I couldn't. It's one of those things that's just the way God has wired me. I tried staying away from it. It ate me from the inside out, like a cancer inside of me. I have to get it out. I have to let people know. I have to. When the time comes, when I stand before God, I want one thing for sure, for God to say, you did the best you could to tell as many people as you could. You didn't remain silent. While the building was on fire and the people couldn't recognize the building was on fire, you were yelling and screaming. If they didn't want to come out, that's their problem. But that's how I feel about it. If you have a piece of knowledge that can help somebody, change somebody's life, maybe even save somebody's life, and you hold on to that knowledge, and that person never hears that piece of knowledge, and for whatever reason their life ends, and that piece of knowledge could have made a difference, and you play a degree of guilt in the death of that person. That's my personal feeling. That's how I feel.
That's why I wrote a book. And the first chapter of my book's on salvation. Every book I wrote, the first chapter's on how to get saved.
I give the analogy of if we were walking down the road and we were on the sidewalk and you were out on the street side and I was on the inside and I see a car coming at us and maybe you have headphones on or something, you're just not paying attention. Even though this car's coming right at you, it's blatant. It's not changing its course. And I'm yelling and screaming, you don't hear me. I'm going to get to the point where I literally grab you. It might hurt you, but I'm going to grab you and pull you out of the way. That's how I feel about the information. If I know something that can help someone or may change someone's life or help save a life and I withhold that information, that would be like a cancer inside of me if I found out that I didn't do my best to get that information out there. That's why I do what I do. That's why when I heard about you, Mike, and I met you and I realized what kind of person you were, I'm in 1,000%. I'd do whatever I can to see to it. If we could clone however many of you we need, I'd do that. I'm serious. We just got to get rid of this darkness that is up there. And the only way I see, I'm dealing with two things. I have, on this show, we've done, I think, 34 or 33 times now. We've talked about what happened in Article 14 and reestablishment of the states, and we've talked about all that and how that has basically usurped us as state citizens and made us United States citizen, federal instead of state. And we've talked about the resolution and all that. The problem with that is that's a long-term project. It's going to take a long time. And you and I have never had this conversation. I believe that right now I got to deal with the reality I have. The reality I have is I have a government that's completely gone rogue. Anybody who understands how government's supposed to work, I doubt they would argue with me that the government has overstepped its boundaries by far, not a little bit. And we need people who understand how the Constitution is. We need people who are honorable. We need people with a good heart, people who are still in the light. Again, this is not just a physical thing that we're going through. This is a spiritual thing. And more of those kind of people we can put up there, the better it's going to be for everybody. Everybody. I mean, I don't know of anybody that can tell me today, yeah, everything is fine. I'm just happy. I think if I ran across somebody and they said that to me here in Florida, I'd probably end up in jail. I'd probably slap them. I don't know how anybody can tell me life is okay. Life is not okay. And as long as these certain groups of people have control, our lives will never go back. I've heard today, I saw an article today, they're saying, well, we may have to go on with the mask thing now for another year. Another year they want to go on. We were talking about 2 weeks when all this started. Now we're talking another year.
No. You want to know the reality? The reality is this is going to go on long enough to see if they can keep Trump from getting in office. That's what this is.
I think even if he gets in office, Mike, this is part of the problem. We don't have enough of us. When I say us, people who think like you and me. You may not be a follower of Christ, but at least you understand that there is a God and there are things that go on in this world that you really can't put an answer to. There is no logical reason why Trump should still be alive today. That's the bare, raw truth about the matter. I know personally of at least a dozen times. 2 of them were here in West Palm Beach. There were 2 times that it was here in West Palm Beach, and we had jet fighters flying sorties, low sorties. I'm very familiar with why jet fighters fly low sorties, because I was in the Air Force for 4 years. And they were sorting here in Palm Beach County, 2 different occasions. I know that was a direct threat on his life during that time. There was a time when in Hawaii when the missile alarm went off, and they said, oh, no, it was a mistake. We accidentally pushed a button. People, it doesn't work that way. That missile was intended for Air Force One. Okay, Riscala, you're exaggerating. I am telling you. They have tried to kill this man repeatedly. There's no logical reason for him to be able to be where he is today other than it is divine. He has help from spiritual, from the spiritual realm. He has help from God. Nobody could make it as far as look at the attacks that are on this man day in and day out.
Right. No, I agree with you. But I will tell you also this. The Secret Service they do a great job. I mean, I've worked with them, and they're really, really good.
But I think he brought his own people in, didn't he? When he took office, if I'm not mistaken, his Secret Service were prior military that he knew. He didn't do like a lot of the other presidents and utilize the existing ones. He brought in his own.
Well, they have a presidential detail that you're assigned to. I mean, you're assigned. They usually the best guys usually go to the presidential detail, but it's a volunteer thing. I mean, you don't have to go, but I mean that's it's a very key assignment to be detailed to be in the president's detail. And they have some. I mean, I work with those guys, and I can tell you, they're very capable. They're very well trained. They're great guys to work with. The only negative is they're really overworked. When you work with the Secret Service, you work 12-hour shifts. The reason I like working with them is because we get overtime. They're the only federal agency, law enforcement agency, that gets overtime. The FBI doesn't get it. We all work what's called leap hours. Leap hours is law enforcement availability pay. So basically, they'll take your salary and they'll give you 25%. So instead of an 8-hour day, you work a 10. So that means those 2 hours have to be available to work. But with the Secret Service, what happens is because you do a 12-hour shift, you'll do an 8 to 8 as opposed to, an 8-hour shift, 3 8-hour shifts. They'll do 2 12-hour shifts. So you get your 2 leap hours, and then you get 2 overtime hours.
Wow.
Which, of course, adds up. I mean, you're talking $40, $50 an hour, 2 hours. I mean, that's an extra $80 a day, whatever it is. So for a guy like me, with your wife and kids, I mean, that's great money.
You're kidding. Wow.
And then you get an expense account, and then they'll put you at the Ritz-Carlton or wherever the dignitary's staying. So it works out, but it's really a lot, because those guys, so when you're doing dignitary protection, you can forget about weekends off. I mean, you're assigned until the dignitary comes and goes.
Yeah.
And if he comes in for 2 weeks, you work those 2 weeks.
Wow.
But they do a great job. I mean, they have a lot of good people. They had when I was there, they had a lot of turnover because they had no family life. I mean, sometimes these guys will be gone for 2 months at a time.
Holy smokes.
So it's tough, but they are.
That is
they
service.
They do get really good people. Secret Service attracts very good people. They're very well trained, and they've done a really good job. I mean, part of the training when I was with them, we got to go through every assassination attempt that was made.
Wow.
On the presidents. So we watched what happened with Kennedy, of course, and then there was a couple of funny ones. I mean, one with Gerald Ford. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They have a cop, a lead cop, okay? And what he does is he clears the lights. So when the motorcade goes through, it can go through the red light, and you don't have the other people going through the green light. He's supposed to make sure that doesn't happen, right? So this cop, they were in Connecticut, he left the light too soon to go to the next light. So when the motorcade was going through the red light, well, there's the group of kids were going through the green light, and they hit the motorcade. You know what I mean?
Holy smokes. I don't remember
this. Yeah, exactly. So, because they had the green light, right? So they were going, they had no idea that they were going to get... Well, you see the Secret Service, they got it on film. Secret Service agents are jumping out with the machine guns because they give you a machine gun,
Mm-hmm.
And they're grabbing these kids out of the car, putting them, why are you trying to kill the president? Why are you trying to kill the president? And, the next thing you see them coming out of the police precinct. You see, we didn't know it was the president. We were just going through the green light.
Holy smokes. Wow.
I mean, so,
well,
it was interesting.
I had a personal experience with the Secret Service many years ago, and it was something out of the movies. My dad... I was sitting at home one day. My dad says, "You want to?" I didn't even. He would spring things on me like this. "You want to go meet your uncle? He's going to meet me at the airport." I didn't even know I had an uncle. I didn't know he had a brother. Well, turns out it was just a good friend of his that he thought, they felt like the brother love between the two of them, and he hadn't seen him in like 20 years. And I said, "No, I don't want to see him." That's fine. So I'm sitting in my garage and having a good time, and in pulls I see the car pull in. I think it's my dad. And so I go running out of the garage to see who it is, and it's not my dad, and I'm immediately met with a gun to my face, and there was, I think, 18 of them, if I remember right, and there were Secret Servicemen, and the guy that they were protecting happened to be the Prime Minister of the Treasury of Saudi Arabia, I think it was, and he was here to meet Nixon on that particular occasion. And they were talking about something going on, and he had 3 extra days that he was going to be here, and he called my dad and said, "I got 3 days, and I haven't seen you in 20 years. Can I come see you?" My dad said, "Yeah." So for 3 days, I was in a wonderland of sorts. He stayed at the I can't think of it now, down Miami Beach. The Fontainebleau. He stayed at the Fontainebleau in the thing called a presidential suite. They had the whole floor, the whole freaking floor these people had. At one corner, now mind you, this was back in, oh my gosh, it was probably 1968, 67, somewhere in there, 68. They had one corner of the floor, and it was all loaded with electronics. My dad went and my mom went to dinner with him, and he had his own personal bodyguard. They went to dinner with him, and one of them came to our room and said, "You want to see where your dad is? You want to see what they're doing?" They took me down to this place, and they had kind of black and white monitors and the green ones. I can't remember what they were, monochrome. I think. Anyway, they had these monitors, and they could tell me exactly. Now, mind you, this is back in '68. They knew exactly where my dad was. They knew how many people were with him. It was just a wide variety of information. I just was enamored. I couldn't believe all the information, all the technology that they had. And that was way back then. That went on for 3 days. It was amazing how they protected this man.
Yeah, no, they do a great job. I mean, I was on a detail protecting the President Robinson of Trinidad and Tobago. He passed away. This is a long time ago. This is in the 90s. And I'm in the control room, and we get a call. I pick it up. It's the CIA. They said, Mike, do you have a secure fax over there? I said, no, we're at the hotel. He said, well, we're sending 2 agents over. I said, okay. So they come over. They meet with the head Secret Service guy. They found out there was going to be a possible attempt on the guy's life.
Mm.
Now, it was interesting. They said you can't tell his detail that you know, right? I said, okay. So that they brought in the armored limousines, the ones that the president uses,
right.
The Beast.
Yep.
Next morning, I go to take the post, and because they said you do the 8-to-8 shifts, and the agent says, did you qualify with a machine gun? I said, no, they didn't give us that training. He said, you can't take the post. I said, why not? He said, the machine gun's right there. And they had it, in the bag. I mean, it's a 9mm automatic weapon, with a 30-round. But they, we had it in a bag so nobody would know. But that's what it was. I couldn't take the post.
Wow.
Yeah, because they elevated it to the next level and they brought in extra people. Before you know it, there's double the people that are coming in. They changed up the car, they changed up everything. And he had gotten shot once before there was a coup in his country, and I guess they had gotten some information. The CIA had overheard some stuff, so we upped the detail, and everything went fine. I mean, there was no issues, but like I said, they do a tremendous job.
Wow.
And it's a tough job to do. It's a tough job to do because you never know where it's coming from, So, and I know there has been attempts on the president's life. There's no doubt
it's
about
repeated.
it. I mean, he's
Yeah.
probably
Repeated.
one of the most hated. Listen, you got to understand something. This Durham investigation concludes. There's going to be at least 15 indictments that are going to lead to
big names,
right up to Biden and Obama.
Yeah, big names. I got a list of the indictments. They haven't been made public yet, but I got a list of a bunch of the indictments, and there are big names involved. Comey, Strzok, his girlfriend, just a whole bunch of names.
Oh yeah. And what do you think they're going to do? They're going to talk.
Oh, they're already starting. What's her name? Yates. Lindsay was asking her about, well, do you think Comey, I'm going to paraphrase, I don't remember the exact wording, but do you think he went rogue? You could say that. That was her answer. You could say that.
Oh, yeah, throwing Comey under the bus. Absolutely, and Comey's going to turn.
Yep.
And now, that's why you see this thing with the virus. Because I'm seeing it. I'm seeing average people, as I go and I talk to people, they're blaming Trump.
Yeah.
People who were Trump supporters in 2016 who said, well, no, I'm not voting for him because now I lost my job. I can't make a living. The restaurants are shut down. This is shut down. Don't you understand? This is how
it's all part of the plan. Exactly right. This is part of the plan. I got another call coming in, Mike. Let's see if we can pick this call up. Area code 734, you are on with Mike Vilardi. Are you there? Area code 734.
I'm here.
Okay.
Bonnie Pettinga.
Okay, say it again, please.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Pettinga.
Hi, Bonnie.
I'm running for Palm Beach County School Board District 1. And Mike Vilardi is really the only one we can count on to support the patriots within Palm Beach County District 21. I would love to vote for him, but obviously I can't because I'm not in that same district, but I 100% support him.
You could if you're a Democrat.
He's the real deal, and there's no one that compares to Mike Vilardi. He he stands alone on his platform, which is the platform that all patriots stand on. And hopefully, collaborating together, we can make sure that he gets elected.
That's my goal, my friend. So, Bonnie, what are you running for again now?
For Palm Beach County School Board, District 1.
And what is District 1?
District 1 consists of as far north as County Line Road, which is the northest point dividing Martin County from Palm Beach County. And the most southern point would be the north side of North Lake Road.
Okay.
And Lake Park.
And
all
how,
the way out.
How do you, what is your, I'm sorry.
Visitor.
There's a little bit of a delay, so we're walking on each other. I apologize. I was going to ask you, what is your position about the schools being open or closed?
I feel we should be giving the parents a choice as to brick and mortar versus virtual.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, the school board is definitely not hearing the voices of the families and the parents who, are the taxpayers who, are dealing with the ramifications of keeping the schools closed, and then in turn it's wreaking havoc on the families in Palm Beach County. It's unfortunate.
I agree.
It's unbelievable because every school board meeting that's being held virtually doesn't appear the right hand speaking to the left hand, and a lot of chaos, and in the interim you have parents who are strongly organizing, but they're not being their voices aren't being heard, and they're not being represented. It should be all about the parents and what's in the best interest of the children. And unfortunately, we have a lot of children that are falling between the cracks, and really isolating themselves. And for those children who are the most vulnerable and unprotected, there's no recourse. There's no way of being able to protect them as long as they're not in school.
Yeah, right. I share some of that, Bonnie. I have a granddaughter who is in the autistic spectrum, and it is not reasonable, nor is it logical, nor is it rational to expect this young child to wear a mask. She'll rip that thing off the moment you stick it on her. She can't stand having anything. If she gets food on her face, she freaks out. So to try to get her to wear a mask is going, if you could force her to wear the mask, you're going to create an emotional scar and possibly a psychological scar. So it would be to the best advantage of the parents to not have her go to school. But as a result of that, the parents suffer because one of them now has to remain home when both of them are working in order for the family to be able to sustain their quality of life. Now one of them is going to have to stay home full time and take care of the child, and they'll lose about 40% of their income. That means everything has to change for them. It's some of the things that they're requesting of the children, I believe. I listen to doctors that are on the front line, doctors that are treating people that have this problem. They've said, as of a couple of weeks ago when I watched the video, and they said as of that time, not a single student had been reported around the world. A young student has not been able to pass this virus on to a student anywhere in the world. So if a doctor who's working on the front lines and treating people with this, saying things like that, that weighs heavily upon me. I therefore would say to somebody who has the authority to make the decision about returning children to school, return the children to school and let's get back to normal, for God's sake. We already know that this is 99, I was going to ask Mike this earlier, we know it's 99% a recovery rate, 99 plus, but I'll just round it 99% recovery rate without medical intervention. How can this be a pandemic, Mike? How is it possible?
Because it's designed to keep Trump from getting a second term. It's just that simple.
But how can there be... I'm going to ask you the same question. I mean, I know the answers to a lot of this, but I want to hear what you have to say. How can there be a conspiracy so large? How can that be possible? All these people are working together to keep Trump from getting reelected?
Well, you go back, I think, would they have Fauci on tape saying that this was going to happen?
In 2017.
Right. So now look at the timing of this. Trump has been China's worst nightmare.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, worst nightmare. Cost the Chinese a fortune, a literal fortune, in last year.
Over $500 billion.
Right. Okay. So now look at the timing of this. They try to impeach him. It fails in the Senate. A few weeks later, all of a sudden, this virus is all over the place.
I believed that from the very beginning. That this wasn't what we were being told, and it was strictly political. And it was real. I mean, people got upset with me because I said this is a hoax, and they misunderstood what I said, what I meant. They heard what I said, but they didn't understand what I meant. It's a hoax, and the virus is real and deadly. There's no question about that.
Right.
I don't argue that fact. The hoax part is how the government has handled the situation. That's the hoax part. They don't have the right to say to one business, you're going to be closed because we deem you unessential. You over here, you can be open. And you over there, you can't do this, and you over here, you can't do that. You can't have more than so many people in your home. You can't go to church. You can't sing. These are all things that are above and beyond, far beyond. I'm not talking about they're just a little crack over. No way. The government does not have, that's not the part, I get so frustrated. That's not the government's place in our lives. And this is part of the problem. People have forgotten that. The government's place in our lives, we have rights that are God-given rights. The government's place is to be sure that those rights are upheld. That's one of their main responsibilities. And they're doing the opposite. The complete opposite. It is not within their authority to break those rights. And again, the rights don't come from the Constitution. I want people to understand something here.
Right, they come from God.
They come from God. If they came from the Constitution, all I got to do is go stick that thing in the shredder. We're done. But they come from God, and therefore the only justifiable entity that would have a right, that would have the authority to take your right from you would be your Creator. That's the only one. Now, last I checked, all these people have to put if they're putting pants on, one leg at a time.
Well, let me ask you this question. What would be the odds of Trump losing an election if we had the highest stock market in history, the lowest unemployment for blacks and Latinos and everybody else,
yep,
$2 gasoline, and for the first time in 75 years we're energy independent? The odds of him losing that election will be slim and none. But now what are the odds? The fact that unemployment has gone through the roof.
Yep.
Okay? The stock market has fallen. People have lost a fortune in the stock market. So, I mean, would Biden have had a chance 5 months ago?
Yeah.
No. Now he's leading in every poll.
That's scary. But again, I go by the people taking the polls. They typically, what they'll do is they'll poll a high percentage of how they want the poll to lean, and then they'll come out, oh, well, you see, he's like 91% to 80% or some other nonsense like that. So I take the polls thing with a grain of salt because the polls are very politically controlled by the dark side. Unless it's an independent, strictly an independent poll that has nothing to do, they don't care either way. And there's few of them. They're mostly relying upon the funds that they get, and it's the funds either from one side or the other. But that's not to argue the point that you're saying. Prior to all of this happening, he didn't stand a snowball's chance in hell of winning. It just wasn't going to happen.
Now that people are losing their jobs, right? Industries are being destroyed. The cruise ship industry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't wait to go on a cruise, but I can't go on a cruise because they're shut down for at least the next couple of months.
Who's going to want to go on a cruise and have to wear a mask the whole time?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. I mean, they can only go half capacity, right? Social distancing.
Yeah,
I mean, you're gonna get on a ship which going to be half empty all the time, which could be a good thing, I guess, to some degree, good or bad. But the point is, this could have never happened unless we had something like this pandemic. And who are you going to blame? Who's in charge? Trump. It's Trump. He's in charge. Look, he's in charge. See?
Yeah, but the reality of it is that he left it. I know he's getting the blame. I see it all the time. But the reality of the situation is he told the governors to handle it on their own, because there are governors who did not shut down. Those of you who are listening, whether you realize it or not, there were at least 8 states that did not go along with this shenanigans. They didn't do it. There was no shutdown. There was no businesses shut down. None of that stuff. And they're doing fine. Okay, they don't have the population of some of the other states. I agree. But if it were truly a pandemic, as far as what I understand a pandemic is, it's everywhere. Whether you have a small amount of people living there, whether you have a large amount of people, the definition of a pandemic is that it's everywhere. Well, it didn't happen to be so bad in these 8 particular states that never shut down and followed all the guidelines. And by the way, those states, if I'm not mistaken, all 8 of them, or I think it's 8 of them, are Republican. Oh, no, wait, I think one Democrat, there may be one Democrat, but I think it's at least 7 of them were Republicans. And the states where the harshest of the shutdown occurs are Democrats.
Of course. Because they know that that's the only chance that Biden has. And some of those are swing states, and that's the problem. Places like Michigan, swing state.
No, we have to do the best. No, we have to do, I take that back. We have to do better than we have ever done before. If we truly want this country to be, I know a lot of young people today, they don't really realize what's happened to them because they've grown up. It's hard for some people to understand. There are people who are alive today, people who are almost 20 years old. Their entire lives, our country has been at war. So guess what? In their life's experience, war is normal. If you can imagine how silly that is, it is absolutely 100% true. In their lives, from the time they were a baby until the time they are living today, our country has been at some kind of war. War on terror, war on drugs, war on this, war on some kind of war. So they all think that war is bad. And you see them acting out now. They think that protesting is burning down buildings. That's protesting to them. And then they get support from the Democratic side of the aisle saying, of course, yeah, they're just protesting. That's not protesting. Burning down businesses and cities is not protesting. That's rioting. And there's a price to pay for that. But in their mind, I don't know, I'm maybe out of turn speaking for them, but I can see how their whole life has been in war, so they think this is normal. We haven't even gone far enough yet. We haven't even brought the guns out yet. We're just burning buildings right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, this election is critical, absolutely critical.
This is
we need
make it or break it.
Republican Congress. We need to keep the Senate. We need to keep the president.
Yeah, we need to overthrow that. That Congress has to go. It has to go, and the majority of that Senate has to go.
I got a plan to beat Lois Frankel.
And I pray that God hears that plan and makes it come true, and grants that wish for all of us, not just for me, for all of us. There's a thing that I like to say is I like to, in my business life, I like to create deals where both parties win. Why? Because I'm part of both parties. I win, the other party wins. Creates a relationship where it goes on and on and on. It's a better relationship than, oh, well, I win, you lose, too bad, see you, bye. Right. And that's the kind of people that we need to represent us. That's what we don't have today. It's all one-sided. Everything up there is one-sided. For them, and if you can't recognize that there literally are 2 sets of laws today, they may not be on the books, but that is what's being practiced. If you are a strong, well-known politician, you can literally get away with murder and laugh at the public while people are have the evidence on you, but you'll never go to court. Why? Because you have so much power over these other people they're all corrupt, so they have to protect each other. And the more that you have on one person, the more they protect you because they don't want to be exposed. We got to get rid of this. The whole thing is just corrupt, and we've got to make a serious change. Do you know how many seats are coming up this time, Mike? I think it's 300 or 400.
Well, every congressional seat is up for grabs. Every 2 years, every congressional seat is up for grabs.
But there's a certain amount of them that aren't running, right? Am I right? There's a certain amount of them that are just not going to run again?
Well, what happens is there's either one or two things happens. If there's no competition, like 2 years ago, nobody ran against Lois Frankel, so she automatically kept the job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, there's others that they're not primaried or they don't have a general election. This year, of course, especially in Florida, what I'm is not only in this district. I mean, we went from nobody running against Lois Frankel to 6 people on the Republican side and somebody on the Democratic side to run against her. All right, it's massive. And then in the adjoining districts, there's a bunch of Republicans running against the other opponents. So Ted Deutsch, like my friend Darlene Swaffer, is running against him, but there's 4 people in that Republican primary. So all of a sudden, there's a lot of Republicans that said, hey, I'm going to step up, and I'm going to go for it, because I don't like what I'm seeing here. I don't like this Islamic...
It's not going in a good direction at all. At all. I mean, I think part of my issue is I've been around for a while, and I know what life was like at one time. I've described this before. Growing up, the police, I grew up in Coral Gables. Coral Gables is a small city inside of Miami. At the time, Coral Gables had their own police. I don't know if they still do or not. But we had 6 cops that got to know us, that were our neighborhood cops. It was a set of 2 that worked 8 hours apiece. And this is how different things are now. If I did something that probably would have ended, they would take me to jail, maybe even shoot me today, some of the stuff that we did. What they did is they never bothered. They took us to our parents. They knew that if they took us to our parents, it was a hell of a lot worse than taking us to jail, taking us to the juvenile court. So they would take us to our parents. So they would come over and they would talk to her. Hey, listen, I saw your son doing the blind. Come on, man, don't be telling my parents. Geez, my dad's going to whip my butt. But then when they came, they wore caps. They had, believe it or not, they wore ties. They had ties, and the whole profession was completely different. And when they spoke to my parents, they spoke with respect. I mean, the respect was on both sides back then, a lot more than it is today. But the difference, these are the things that I remember, that life was so different at one time. It wasn't so quickly to be. A prime example is what happened to Cindy. There she was standing there, basically expressing her free speech, and was forcibly taken to the ground. That's I don't pretend, terrible. I don't pretend to know law enforcement, but I can tell you, in my view, as a human being, there was, I think, 3 or 4 of them. It was just totally unnecessary. Why couldn't you have said to her, look, if you don't do this, we are going to be forced to force you to do it. To give you the opportunity to walk away now, because we don't have a choice. This is our job. We have to, whatever it is that they were supposedly defending, we're going to have to do this. So one way or another, it's going to get done. Now, we'd like it if you, see, back then, this, in my mind, and her dad, by the way, was a police officer. That was the character of her dad. If a person of her dad's character was there, they would have de-escalated the situation and said, Cindy, look, there's no way out for you other than just please leave peaceably. Otherwise, it's going to escalate, and we can't do anything about that. But they didn't do that. They immediately went to force, never even giving her that option. That's the big difference I see today. When people ask me defund, no, don't defund, retrain. They just need to be retrained.
They need better training, and they definitely do. Listen. This Black Lives Matter thing, all the money's going to the Democratic Party.
That's absolutely correct. That is absolutely correct.
It's just a tool of the Democratic Party. That's all it is, and that's the tragedy of this, is people have really been duped. Who's good at duping, Mike? Who's the best deceiver of all? Who's the best deceiver? Oh, yeah, there's no one better than the devil himself.
Yeah, and that's where it's coming from. This, again, we go back to the spiritual side of this fight. The deception, there's so much deception going on. I have he was a very close friend, who believes in the BLM, and I said, the BLM goes right to the DNC. No, it doesn't, Riscal. I said, please, just go do some looking around. No, you're racist. Bye. The people don't even realize sometimes they're giving a response to something that is a pre-programmed response by watching the television. They tell you how to respond. Oh, if they do that, then they're racist.
That's the sad, sad reality.
What I see, Mike, and maybe you can lend some light on this. What I see now is in that part of Revelation where it says the Lord is going to separate the wheat from the chaff. I see that happen. That's what I see happening now. More and more and more.
Well, I think you said it earlier about the churches. They're more about entertainment than they are about good, solid teaching. And they're not taking on this political issue. Listen, we are a country in crisis. We're politically and socially divided. That's why it's imperative to have a congressional representative who will bring unity and solutions. And that's what my platform's about, bringing unity and solutions. We don't have that right now. We're so partisan, you're on one side or the other. People go into that booth, they don't even look at who they're voting for. I'm either voting all D's or all R's.
Well, I hope and pray that they stay away from the D's.
Yeah, exactly, because all that does is bring division. That's their whole plan, is to divide us. Black Lives Matter. How about the rest of us?
Antifa. And do you know that that Congresswoman, I think she's from Hawaii, I can't remember her name.
Oh.
You know who I'm talking about? She looks kind of Chinese. She looks Hawaiian. And
yes, I do.
Ted Cruz.
Tammy Duckworth, that's her name.
I don't know if that's. Anyway, she got a Hawaiian name. Anyway, whoever it is, she's a Democrat. And he asked her, I'm giving you an opportunity to say something against Antifa, that you stand against Antifa. She got up and walked away. Would not condemn the actions of people who murdered people. Would not. Well, why should that surprise me? They support the actions of doctors killing babies. So why would that surprise me? Why?
Listen, you need a plan to. I have a plan. My issues. What these 25% of the people in this country supported communism over capitalism. Those are all the Bernie supporters. Think about that.
And if I'm correct, it's primarily in the younger, like up to 40 and younger, 35 younger.
Correct. You're correct. So my issues are a takeoff on that, except different. I want to make Social Security tax-free. Why? Because you pay into it 40 years.
That's right.
And you get no tax deduction. And it's all it is your money coming back to you. So why should you be taxed when you get the benefit? It's your money. So I want you to keep your money. They want you to have everybody else's money.
Big difference.
Big difference. But my issues will resonate with everybody. Because who wouldn't want to receive tax-free Social Security benefits after you pay in for 40 years?
I don't know how they ever. I don't know how they ever got away with that to begin with, but that's a whole nother. That
show. That was Clinton. That was back in the Clinton era. Yeah. Okay, but nobody makes an issue of it. Now, who's going to fight for term limits? Anybody agree? I think it's a good thing that Nancy Pelosi's been in Congress since 1993.
It's shameful.
It is.
And this whole time that these people have been in, and some of them have been in there, I don't know how long she is, like 27 years or something. There's others that have been in there excess of 30 years, and they're all blaming, it's all Trump. So everything is Trump. So you've been there for all this time. We've had these problems going on.
Of course.
But all of a sudden now it's all Trump's fault. It's just.
It's all about keeping power. And
exactly.
That's the problem.
Exactly.
Listen, Dianne Feinstein's husband got the contract to sell all the post offices. They're worth about $3 billion.
I read that story.
Get a 6% commission, okay? You think she's ever going to have to worry about money for the rest of her life?
I don't know how they get away with this stuff, though. See, that's the thing, Mike. I don't know. Just like what I mentioned earlier in this show. Here we have California. It's one of the mayors. I can't remember the mayor's name. But he's, is it California? I think it was California. They're threatening to shut down. Of course, they threatened the businesses prior. If you're a business and you're open, you're deemed non-essential, we're going to shut your power and water down. Now they're threatening the homes. If you have more than 10 people in your home, we're going to shut your electricity and water off. This is insanity. It's just like...
It is insanity, yeah. It's government overreach. That's what it is. And it has to be stopped. But the only way you're going to stop it is by getting Republicans in office, because Democrats will never stop this.
Yeah, no, they want more of it. They're in your face, and they're very brazen about it. They're in your face. We're going to have more of. When I think it was Harris who said, "When we get power back, all you people who supported Trump and all the other people who didn't go along with it, you better watch out."
Kamala Harris said that. Yes,
is that the kind of person that you want in power? to threaten someone else because they don't agree with you, because they agree with the original way that this country was set and the way this country was run versus the way that you want to run it? You want to threaten their lives?
I think the way she attacked Biden on stage about the busing, I think he's going to have to pass on her, and I hope he does and goes with Susan Rice instead, even though I think Susan Rice is not really qualified. But Kamala Harris is dangerous.
And she's not the only one. She's just the tip of the... You got Leon Omar, and you got...
I think, didn't Omar lose? Or I think Omar's in trouble in her district.
She's in trouble with the IRS, I think. She did something with her funds from her campaign, gave them to her boyfriend or something like that. Hundreds of thousands of dollars to her boyfriend from her campaign funds, who she wants to get married to. Now, it's just a mess. It's an absolute mess how these people get up there. I think, personally, how some of these people get up there is they just have, it's not the people voting for them. It's just no certain people that can manipulate it all and get it done for them. And that's the part that concerns me with this election coming up, because there are people who can manipulate everything in the election. You may vote for XYZ and you'll get ABC that comes up. It's truly disturbing. That's one of the things I saw that I thought maybe a way around it would be the absentee. If it works the way that I think it is, and that is you have to request it. It's sent to you. It's pre-filled with your name and everything. All you have to do is check off who you're going to vote for and send it back. So the odds of that being fraudulent versus a free form, meaning that the form is empty, anybody can put their name on it, the odds of that being able to be thrown in there as a fraud are high, much, much greater than the absentee voter. If it is the way that I think, I read up on it, and that's the way I understood it.
Right, exactly.
So you'd have a paper trail. At least you'd have a paper trail. See, with what we have today, with these machines that they have today, it's already been proven that they can be hacked very quickly. I think a 10th grader hacked them. They had a video on a 10th grader hacking them for Congress.
Wow.
Stood before Congress and did it for them. So they voted for ABC and it came out XYZ. But the person voted for ABC. They on the thing there, on the readout, I can't think of the word. They pressed ABC, but it comes out whatever you press, it doesn't matter. It'll show that you received your vote according to what you said, but the printout is completely different. What comes out of the machine that then has to go into another machine that gets counted is different. And you can't look at that and say, because it's just dots at that point. It doesn't have any names alongside of it. So there's things that we have to do. This is why I beg people, please, we got to show up in droves this go around. We got to get people up there like Mike, who's willing to stand at the base for you and hold the bat and take the wildest pitches that they throw at him and still be able to hit the ball. These are the kind of people that we need. That's the kind of person Trump is. He stood at base. They've thrown everything at him, everything, and he hits back. That's the kind of people we need. Well, that's the kind of guy Mike is.
Exactly.
And I appreciate you doing what you're doing, Mike. Hang on a minute. We're going to take a break, and then we'll be back. You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show. Tonight I have Mike Vilardi on with me. I've got a couple of callers. I'm going to put you on hold, callers. If you want to have a comment when we come back, I'll be more than happy to take the comment. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Well, that is if I can find the right button. My gosh. Some days are just, let's see. Here we go. Is it that one? Here we go.
Hey, late-nighters, keep up with all things WCET Radio by joining our mailing list. Just go to the bottom of the homepage and fill in the Stay Informed form. Then click the Get Latest News button. You will get everything from guest info and show info and other important station-related information. So sign up now and get a special promo offer just for email subscribers.
Hi, this is Michael from WCETradio.com and the new show Inside My Head, which airs every Monday at 7 to 8 p.m. Do you have depression, anxiety, bipolar 2? Maybe PTSD, OCD, or ADD? Maybe ADHD, ODD, or IED? Then tune in right here on WCETradio.com or come to our Facebook fan page, where we open up our emotions and rid ourselves of the negative stigma attached with our disorders. Call in, talk freely, with no judgment. 803-369-3654. And that's on our Skype line. Just know you are not alone. And together, we could share information to better ourselves, one show at a time. So join me, right here, inside my head, on WCETradio.com. And let's work on making a better future for ourselves.
Late Nighters, make sure you like and follow WCET Radio and all our shows on social media. Just click the channel you want at the top and bottom of our homepage. Then be sure to share with a friend and ask that friend to do the same. And you become the resistance.
Late Nighters and WCET radio listeners around the world, listen up. The shop is here, and you can order WCET radio and your favorite shows swag right now and show your friends and your neighbors you're awake by wearing one of our many shirts, including our Stop the Censorship shirt. That one is a hot seller, so get yours while supplies last. We have coffee mugs, clocks so you never miss your favorite shows, books, mouse pads, and more coming soon. Just go to WCETradio.com and click the shop link. That's WCETradio.com and get to shopping.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Riscala, every Saturday night from 9 p.m. to midnight. And now your host, Riscala.
All right, we are back. It is the Red Pill Reality Show. Truly an honor and a privilege to have you listen in. Thank you for taking the time and allowing me to share with you some of these things that I find out. Tonight is quite an important show tonight. Quite a very serious subject tonight. You know, most of you who listen to me know that I am adamant about what is happening with regard to the infringement of our rights by this government, and that many people say, well, you know, the government this and the government that. It's not really the government, if you think about it. It's people within the government. The system itself, when it was originally set up, it was set up in a way that the people that were in office, even though it was never written down, a requirement of integrity. And we've lost that. The people that are in office today, generally speaking, there is no integrity. There's no honesty. They're not working selflessly. They're working selfishly. And we've got to get away from that. It would logic would tell you if you continue doing the same thing over and over, don't expect a change. Here we have the opportunity. We have an opportunity for a change. We have an opportunity to put somebody up there who will stand for us. Mike Vilardi, District 21. This is the guy that I would love each and every one of you. If you're not in our district in Palm Beach County, talk to your friends who might be in Palm Beach County. District 21, Mike Vilardi. Mike, what is the website again?
www.Vilardi, Vilardi 2020, Vilardi2020.com.
You can go there. You can find out what kind of person this is, the character this man has. He is the most qualified. The most qualified. You know, one of the things I said earlier, as an employer, when I hire somebody for a position, I want to see what their prior experience is and how that experience is either going to help them or it's going to hurt them. And this man's prior experience is going to give him the biggest boost over any of the other candidates. The most qualified. Mike Vilardi, District 21, Palm Beach County. I see Cindy still on. Cindy, you got another comment or question?
At the moment, I'm just thinking about some of the other things that Mike is going to do. You know, he was an IRS agent, retired, and he does have his own business still. So in regards to, like, we were talking a little bit about the Social Security tax and about the unemployment tax, since a lot of people now have collected unemployment, how's that going to affect them?
Well, the unemployment, what happens is people don't realize that it's supposed to be insurance. If you're a business, like I have a business, they take out money from the business in the form of taxes to cover on people that, employees that you have that might become unemployed to fund the bill, so to speak. What people don't realize is the government taxes it as income. So all these people that are getting this $600 a week paycheck, they're going to have the IRS knocking on their door next year saying, "Hey, you owe us $2,000," and they're going to be unable to pay it. So I firmly believe that. For that reason, it's supposed to be insurance. It's supposed to be tax exempt. It's a waste of time on the IRS agents to have to knock on their doors because they're not going to collect anything. People don't have it. And it's terrible for the people that are unemployed because they're never going to have a chance to get financially back on their feet. And that's why I'm pushing to make it tax exempt.
Wow. That's, that's like the loans they had. I don't even know if these exist anymore. The balloon notes. Somebody talked me into a balloon note many, many, many years ago. And I thought, this is great. We're going along. And all of a sudden, at the end of this note, you got this huge payment you have to make. If you don't make the payment, you're in default of the loan. And that's what this sounds like. You're basically getting this money, and it's coming to you with no taxes taken out of it, and you're going to be hit with a balloon note. Come next year, you made X amount of dollars that were untaxed, and now you are responsible for that. And that number could, how long does it think, can they go on? 8 weeks, 10 weeks collecting?
Oh, I think they're going to extend it more than the 8 weeks. I mean, they've been being able to get benefits since March.
Yeah, it's already long past 8 weeks. Jeez.
Yeah, it's long past that. I mean, we're in August.
So that could be a pretty hefty bill when it all comes due.
Yes, no, absolutely, and people don't expect it. They just assume that it's just tax exempt, and it's not. So it becomes a problem. So that's one of the issues. And that's how I think I'm going to win in a Democratic district, because every senior citizen is going to want tax-free Social Security. Every unemployed person is going to want his unemployment to be tax-exempt, right? So you vote for her, and you're going to be taxed. You vote for me, it's going to be tax-free. Who are you going to choose?
Wow. Do I want to get burned, or do I not want to? This is really what it boils down to. Do I want to let them take it from me, or do I not want to let them take it from me?
Yeah. And I got a great health care plan. And, term limits, I think, is necessary at this point because these congressmen and senators have abused their positions. They've become corrupted.
Yeah. Clearly.
And you could see it. I mean, Tlaib, that Michigan Muslim lady.
Yeah.
Now, she just had a primary a couple of days ago, and she ran against the same woman she beat by 1 percentage point. Well, this time she beat her by 30 percentage points.
Oh, my goodness.
Why? Yeah, because she had money. She got money. Pelosi got behind her. She had a bankroll of $2 million. And with that money, her opponent raised $165,000, so she couldn't get the signs out. She can't get the radio advertising. If you don't have money, and I'm experiencing this too, you're limited what you can do.
Sadly.
As far as sadly, and if people don't know you, I mean, right now I just spent $5,000 this week just to advertise on Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity. Go buy some more signs. Okay, those bills add up. And you need people that can join the cause to help you to win the race. And if you don't have those people, it makes it very difficult.
Yep.
And so she was able to easily defeat this woman for one reason. She was able to raise $2 million, and her opponent couldn't raise $200,000.
This is something that I have addressed a couple of times, and I don't have a solution, but I can tell you that it is clearly a situation that needs to be addressed. And that is the issue of money, because there are people who are well qualified, but because of their opponent's ability to raise money faster or more than them, that is the only reason they end up winning. Not that they are better at the job, not that they're going to represent us, none of that. It's just going to be whoever gave them all of that money, which in her particular circumstance, I'm sure, like if Pelosi backed her up, she's going to be indebted to Pelosi now to go along with Pelosi if she wants to retain her seat. So, and what does Pelosi want? She wants the absolute destruction of this country. Yeah. So the reality, it is sad, but it is true. The reality is there are people, unfortunately, who have access to a lot of money, and there are people who have a lot of money. And both of these groups of people agree with each other in the sense that the America they want is they have to destroy the America that exists so they can raise up the one that they want. That's what we're fighting.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, George Soros, perfect example. This guy has made it his passion now to fund the progressive Democrats in every one of the district attorney races throughout the country. And if you look at New York, look at who won that attorney general's seat, this very liberal black woman who is now going after everything Trump.
Yeah, including the National Rifle Association.
And the National exactly right. And that's why one of the reasons Trump, became a Florida resident and gave up his New York residency, because it's nothing more than political. That's all it is. And you say it's like living in the Twilight Zone. There's the right and wrong has been.
It doesn't exist. The McCloskeys, that's the couple that stood their ground on their property against violent trespassers who broke down a gate in order to get into their property. That's the couple that stood their ground with firearms against a violent crowd, and by a Democrat prosecutor they attempted to prosecute them. Unfortunately, the Attorney General stubbed his nose at it and said, forget that. But just the idea that they tried to bring charges up on a couple for defending their homes against these people.
The attorney used it as a fundraising thing for her reelection.
Holy
smokes. And that's one of the reasons they had to drop the charges, too, because she made it too political. But yeah, absolutely correct. I mean,
holy smokes.
Absolutely correct. I mean, listen.
Oh, boy.
If you don't have a firearm, now's a good time to buy one.
Amen. Amen. All right, my friend. Well, we're running out of time. I want to give you an opportunity here, give you a minute or two. Anything else that you would like the people to know about you? Any information that places they can go, anything like that? And we'll finish it up.
Yeah, listen, we're a country in crisis, politically and socially divided. It's
Amen.
Imperative that we have a congressional representative who will bring unity and solutions. Without exception, my solutions aim to bring unity to Congress and our citizens. We all agree that it's unfair for our seniors to be double taxed on their Social Security. So we need to make Social Security tax-free for our senior citizens. Because there's too many people they can't afford to buy bread. I mean, they're in trouble. We need term limits to reduce the political corruption in Washington. And the unemployed need as much help as possible, and making their benefits tax-free will help those that are unemployed. I also plan to make changes to the IRS. I expect to increase the financial loss recapture on your Schedule D from 3,000 to 10. So if you lose 30,000 in the stock market, instead of it taking 10 years to recoup your loss, you do it in 3. I have a great health care plan. I know I can win, but I need your help. So please go to Vilardi 2020, Vilardi 2020, and donate. Donate your time, donate your money. Help me any way you can, because if people like myself don't win, we will lose this country.
And that is a horrible thought. All right, my friend, God bless you. I wish you the best. We'll be praying for you, and I am expecting you to be our congressman for District 21. I'm declaring that and asking God to hear that and make that come to pass to your glory, Father. Thank you, Mike. Greatly appreciate it. Wish you an awesome evening, my friend. Enjoy what's left of your weekend here.
All right, likewise, and I appreciate the opportunity. God bless you.
God bless you back. All right, my friends, we have a choice to make, and for me, it's pretty clear. If you just get the hate for this president out of your heart and think logically and think for yourself instead of allowing the television to make your decisions for you, I think it doesn't take a whole lot to come up with a deduction that someone like Mike Vilardi, who has the experience, can stand up for us and get the job done. This is what we need now more than ever. Somebody who has got a plan to bring us back together, a plan to help some people like me. I'm in that age where I'm collecting Social Security, and I never thought for a moment that I'd be worried about them taxing me, but they do. It becomes an income for me when it shouldn't be. And what happens if a spouse dies and unexpectedly their spouse passes away? The suffering emotionally from the spouse passing away isn't enough. The financial devastation that follows. What happens about stuff like that? These are things that Mike is worried about. That's why I love this man, because his heart is for us, and that's what we need. We need people who are thinking about us instead of themselves. I'm running out of time. I want to thank WCET, our home network, WCET. I think we're going to go AM here pretty soon. We are FM. I think we're shutting the FM down, running into situations where with the FCC, we're going to go to AM, which is going to give us a little more range as well. So hot diggity dog on that. Also, we are now officially an LLC. So when you are working with us, you're working with an actual company. We're not a bunch of fly-by-nights anymore. Now we fly by day. Ha, ha, ha. If you go to our website, you can learn quite a bit about that. It's www.wcetradio.com, formerly wcetfm.com. And we also have an app, and I've got a bug in the app. What happens is if you download our app and you listen to the show and your phone goes to sleep, one of those phones go to sleep, the app doesn't tell the phone that it's still running, so it shuts down. We're working on that. I should have that bug fixed. But in the meantime, if you're one of those that wants to listen, one of the easiest ways is on the app. And if you go to the Google Play Store, you can find it. If you look up WCET-FM, you'll find it there. We're going to change all of that eventually. It's going to be WCET Radio. But anyway, that's where we're at with all of that. The easiest way to listen to us, again, the app. And the second easiest way is on the Facebook page. If you go to the Facebook page and click on Contact Us, or if you want to go on the web, you can go on the web to www.wcetradio.com, and we have a player there. Thank you, each and every one of you who help us do what we do. I am greatly appreciated for each and every one of you who are dying to learn the truth and are willing to spread that, because that's what we need today, more than ever. We need that. And again, we have an opportunity before us. If we don't grab this opportunity and start putting people up there that are responding to us, then it's gone. And I'm not exaggerating. That's not an overstatement. It's gone. This is it. This is the last election that will occur in this country if the wrong people get in office. Mike is the right person. Mike has the answers. You need more people like Mike. If you're not in District 21, find out who is like Mike so we can get more people like Mike, like-minded people that can work together. My gosh, you wouldn't imagine what we could get done. All right, we're out of here. Thank you, everybody. Wish you a great evening. We'll be back in a week.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, take the red pill, take the red pill, take the red pill, take the red